Welcome back to Between Pages and Friends, a book club podcast hosted by Con and Lauren, two besties who read a lot of books, and John and Kyle, our five-star husbands who've agreed to read with us. I'm Con.
I'm John.
I'm Kyle.
And I'm Lauren. Today, we're bringing you a bonus episode to continue our Fae and Alchemy series discussions with something a little extra special. The Kingfisher POV bonus chapters by Callie Hart. These chapters...
Yeah!
Woohoo!
Bonus!
These chapters give us a juicy look inside Kingfisher's head, and there is seriously so much to talk about. I cannot wait. You can read these chapters for free on Callie's website, and for those of you who love an audiobook moment, they are now available on Audible, narrated by the Quicksilver Dream Team, Anthony Palmini and Stella Bloom.
There will be spoilers for all things Quicksilver in this episode, so if you haven't finished the book and bonus chapters yet, consider this your official spoiler warning. And as always, we've got a quick content heads up before we dive in. These chapters include themes like violence, manipulation, and an emotional character death. So if you're not ready to go rooting around in Kingfisher's head, now's your chance to scram! Get out of here!
Go on, get!
If you have enjoyed reading this series as much as we have, we'd love for you to join us on Patreon. For just $5 a month, you can join our Book Bestie tier to hang out in our cozy Discord, hop into monthly book chats, and join a community of fellow readers. Or upgrade to our $10 Found Family tier for exclusive perks like merch discounts, early access to episodes, and behind-the-scenes chaos, and more. And more. And... you may have guessed it, a little bit more.
And a Rathmore?
Yes.
And a whole Rathmore.
Oh my gosh.
More wrath.
And don't forget.
Somebody could take that the wrong way, thinking if I had a lisp or something. Anyway, go on.
That you developed at the last sentence of that paragraph.
Yeah, the last word. Where did you get that?
Oh my gosh.
You always had that?
Okay. And don't forget, in a few short weeks, we will be at Enchanticon 2025. We are heading to St. Louis August 15th to 17th as event influencers, hosting our very own meetup, moderating a panel, and of course, yapping about Throne of Glass. Come hang out with us in person and use code FRIENDS15 at enchanticon.com to get 15% off your tickets.
Lastly, if you're a fan of this podcast, we would love for you to let more people know. By writing a review on Apple Podcasts or Audible, you're also sending a little message to the algorithm gods that say, hey, we have a lot of fun over here. Please send more book besties ASAP. Here's a recent 5-star review on Apple Podcasts from our new bestie, Megan FT, titled, I Laughed So Hard I Snorted. I've been listening to BPNF since they started, and I can say that I happily look forward to their weekly episodes. John, Con, Lauren, and Kyle have become some of my best friends, minivan buddies, and the one I can listen to for a guaranteed good laugh. In their coverage of the Empyrean series, I've come to love the dramatic, funny, and insane pre-job.
Pre-job.
Intros. In episode 17, covering Onyx Storm, Lauren busts out an incredible pre-chap song, and Kyle follows up with an insanely funny blurb yell. I laughed so hard I snorted. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the laughs and giggles. Thanks for always making me feel like I'm laughing at you, with you, and between pages and friends. Wink emoji, parentheses. See what I did there? Con, that one was for you. Finger guns. Pew, 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 pew.
Finger guns back at you, Megan.
Thanks, Megan.
All right. Calm down.
Automatic finger gun.
Thanks, Megan.
Better come prepared next time, Megan.
Finger shotgun.
Oh my God, God.
Finger sniper, just give me a minute to put it together.
Shall we go on? Finger grenade. All right.
You guys play too much video games.
Yeah, we do.
Wow. And now it's time for Con's declassified Simplified Fantasy Pronunciation Guide for the Kingfisher POV chapters. I am so excited that we can actually include this for the bonus chapters, for most of them anyway, because we actually have an audiobook for the first few. So let's get into all the new character names and world building mentioned in these chapters. For characters, we finally get all of the wolves. We meet the most recent Lupoprolia members. This includes Morel, Renfus's twin sister, Corix, Foley, Vashgideon, and of course Renfus and Lorith and Danya, I guess.
Boo.
Boo, Danya.
Boo.
Boo,
Boo, Danby.
Danby. Get out of here, Danby.
Danby. Freaking Danby. Then we meet Omnomshakrai on page. We've heard this name before, but he is also referred to as the Silent Death, the Drake, Old Blood, and Grandfather Ash.
Oh. Grandfather ass. Got him.
Salandor, Danya's sword, R.I.P. Mela, the water sprite Fisher found to ask for Wanderer's moss for carrion. In world building, we have Lamerick root cigarillos smoked by sentries to quicken the blood and fend off the cold. And lastly, the May Highland Festival, which is what the Ajun Fae were celebrating when Omnomshakrai attacked, as a symbolic gesture meant to welcome good fortune into the city and allow trapped spirits to escape. They left the Ajun gates open for 5 days and 5 nights.
Whoop.
Big mistake. Huge. And now we're going to kick it over to what?
Come on. I'm waiting for my introduction.
That's what I'm doing.
Recap.
And now the recap from John.
Thank you very much. So we're going to go one little section at a time. So we'll go over the first, I'll recap the first one. We'll talk about the first one, so on and so forth. So keep up because it's going to be quick. We get to live out Lorith's song here in the bonus chapters. Fisher and his wolves sent to protect Ajin from Omnomshakrai and part of Malcolm's horde. Omnomshakrai used to have a pact with the city to not attack, but Malcolm basically promised him some juicy fae, and here we are. The dragon attacks as well as the horde. Fisher and his wolves hold them off at the gate. They're trying to get people back in, but others are like running out for their lives. Fisher realizes his only solution is to get the gate closed, but it's made of iron, which Faye cannot touch or pay the ultimate price. But he's been building up a little immunity to iron over time, but it still burns through him as he pushes. The other wolves get the rest of the Fae inside, but Ren, Danya, and Lorith come out with him to help get it closed, as he basically passes out and comes to in a beautiful clearing with a giant tree atop a knoll, 2 young females looking at him. And wouldn't you know it, it's Balin Mithin up to no good. We learn here that this is actually the 3rd time that he's been here and interacted with these 2 and or Zareth. He sees Zareth up at the tree also with someone else, feeling a strong connection to them, and as Balin Mithin explained that what he sees is a moment in the future, and they are in the past, pretty safe to assume that he is seeing Zareth and Saras' conversation from the end of Quicksilver. Then they give him a god sword and send him on his way, as he awakes fully healed and with a fresh new god sword back in front of the Ajin Gate.
Thanks, John.
Wow.
The gates are open. Let's enter in.
Let's enter into the city of discussion.
Amazing. Okay, so my first note is about Renfus, of course, because Renfus.
Hello, Renfus.
But I was very surprised to find out that he has a twin sister, and obviously we learned what happens to Morel in all of this. But that was like my first note, all caps. Excuse me, a twin? Like,
Yeah.
We just didn't learn anything about. I feel like a lot of the characters, when I heard this, because I was like, we know about Kingfisher and Everlane, obviously, and we know about Saras and Hayden, but then when I'm trying to think of any other character and their life and story and all the things, I don't feel like I know. I guess maybe a little bit of Lorith and him being a bard and stuff. We got his little backstory moment, but there's just so much that I hope we learn in the future for all of these people. So I don't know,
Yeah.
but...
Yeah.
We got to meet all of the Lupoprolia, which was cool, and learn all of their names as well. Mm-hmm. And then when Omnomshakrai came out for the very first time, and I was like, oh, that's what this bonus chapter is about. okay. I just wrote holy F. Because, yeah, it's insane. And then also, like, I have listed here a couple of his names that they call him, like the Drake, Old Blood,
Yeah.
Grandfather Ash. But also they called him, like, Old Shakrai or
Yeah.
Grandfather Shakrai or, like, a bunch of other random. I just feel like he had
Pappy
100
Shakrai.
nicknames. Yeah. Good old Pappy Shakrai.
No, Brandon.
But he really did have, like, 100, like, any new person
Yeah.
called him something else. And I guess when you're around that long, you probably do have 400,000 nicknames, and
Yeah.
everyone still knows who they're talking about. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Old Pop. He's got some great parent names.
Pop Shakrai.
Pop.
It's a regional thing.
pop.
I was just trying to search the ebook because I had the same thought when we first learn, like when it first says Renfus's twin or his sister or something. There's like a couple mentions of it before we learn her name, and I was freaking out about that too. And I was like, "It was that mentioned anywhere?" But I really don't think it was
I don't think so
in the
either.
actual book. I know we
I
didn't
think
learn
I
her
would have
name,
been
but-
like, I can't wait to meet her, or, you know, like what's going on with
Yeah.
his sister. Like I feel like I would have theorized on that only because I have
Yeah.
a 100% valid obsession with Renfus. I would have been wanting to know about all
Is
of
his
his
sister
life.
equally hot? That sort of thing.
I mean, yeah, gotta ask all
what's
the right
going on with his
questions.
sister?
I mean, Kingfisher and Morel, they seem to maybe, I don't know.
Could have been something.
I know.
Yeah.
Could have been.
Yeah. They had some tension.
Mhm.
We'll talk about that in a little
Yeah,
bit.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah. She's dead.
What a transition.
Spoilers.
Should mean when they do talk about it. Anyway. Okay, so Ren says to Lorith, "Don't you worry about the women here, Bard. None of them are interested in you. Your charms being what they are, I'd be surprised if you could even talk a bog witch out of her underwear." Really, all their like banter at the beginning was just, it was great. Number one, I love that he calls Lorith Bard. I think that's really cute. Two, Lorith responds to this by saying, "Want that mouth washed out with soap, pretty boy? I would never, ever." And then he gets cut off because something else starts happening. And I highlighted that and wrote, Lorith is so totally hooking up with Ishabal.
Yeah, he is.
1000%. He keeps saying all of these like hardcore, like declarative statements about how much he hates witches. Yeah, declarative. That's what I'm trying to say. Thank you.
They're very
He
decorated
keeps
sentences.
he keeps like making these sweeping declarations. That's what I was going for, about how much he hates the witches. And every
Yeah.
time I'm like, this is totally happening. I'm very excited for that.
Also, they have this whole little bet with his beard. I don't remember which one of them won. Does Lorith have to shave his beard? Does he have a beard in the actual book?
I don't remember.
Oh, I don't know.
I totally missed that.
You don't. That's a whole thing because they laugh
Oh,
about
well,
I remember
his
the bet.
beard.
I think technically Lorith helps Renfus up after he like almost burns out, and he helps
Oh,
him back up to
yeah.
the. So yeah, maybe that would be funny
Yeah.
to see if that comes into play.
And it
later.
says, if I have to pick you up off your ass during our melee, I'm claiming the handsome dagger of yours. And then Ren says, and if I drag you up out of the mud, I'm making you shave that stupid beard. So, does Lorith still have a beard? I don't remember. I mean, obviously this is
Does he
hundreds of
have
years later,
Renfus's dagger?
but still.
'Cause
Yeah,
he'll
does he
shave.
have Renfus's dagger?
These are great questions.
Gotta research.
Okay, so there's the game that he plays with Carrion, where
He
he's
has the
throwing
dagger.
daggers at the tree. So I wonder. I don't know if it's the same one that he keeps throwing, but he does have a dagger. I wonder if it is. That would be funny.
I think it would be very funny.
That would be good stuff. I think it's safe to
Throwing
assume
the-
that it is.
When he's
I'm okay
throwing the
with
dagger at
saying
the
it's
tree,
headcanon.
Was it different daggers, or was it just one that kept?
Oh, that's what I'm saying. I don't know
Yeah.
if he
I'm
had
pretty
like
sure it's
a
one
couple
over and over and
multiple.
over.
But I think
Yeah,
he
wasn't
I
he
think
at like
was
100 in a row?
Calling it back, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So maybe that's the fancy part of what used to be Renfus's dagger, is that you could call it back to you.
I don't
That would be
know.
really cool. Anyway,
Can't really search
Yeah.
dagger. I feel like they were just going to get 78 mentions of it.
And you can't really search fan art of Renfus's dagger without guaranteeing you're not going to get something else on Renfus.
Okay, I'm searching Renfus's.
oh my God.
Well, because that is the rest of that line that
Google
Lord
takes these
says.
first
It's like,
option.
it's the one you keep fiddling like it's your second.
Oh yeah.
You know, I just didn't read that part.
That's funny. Oh, yeah, actually I found it.
Oh, actually, yeah, it was pretty easy.
I don't think it says specifically. I think it just keeps saying the dagger. The dagger he just embedded into the tree trunk, dislodged itself and whipped backward,
Yes.
landing in his palm hilt 1st.
Yeah, that sounds like a cool
But there's no
dagger
like
he'd probably
descriptions
want to
of
take.
either of these.
But that's when Carrion was like complaining that he was a cheat or
Right.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be kind of funny.
I'm okay pretending that's what it is, even if
Yeah.
it's not. If we ever get to talk to Callie, these are the questions we need to ask.
Yes, we do. I love it. Okay, so when the Quicksilver is trying to direct Fisher, and it's saying things like, move, you must go, all must move, together, go. It was just so interesting to see how the Quicksilver interacts with Kingfisher, because it seems so different from the way that maybe it's just the frequency of how often it talks to him compared to Saras's experience with it. But like his nausea being a sign of the Quicksilver feeling strongly about something was super interesting. And especially after finishing these chapters, I'm really curious what you guys think about the Quicksilver's voice, or like voices. Not you.
My voice?
Meow. Do you think that it's always the gods talking, or is the Quicksilver more of a pathway between realms for communication in general? Because I'm thinking about these times that it's kind of directing and telling people to move, but also the Anarath Moor repeating from Amontraeth, or like wanting to make bargains for the relics. I just want to know what you guys think about that.
I did have a lot of thoughts on this, but I want to see if I should save this for the thoughts and theories talk, or just go
maybe.
for it a little bit here.
It's up to you. It's whatever you want to say. I don't know what it is. I mean, I know it's there, but I didn't read it.
Because it's like, my thoughts are kind of directly like related to your questions here. So, okay.
Yeah,
so
go for it.
I was going to say, I think the Quicksilver has, and you and I talked a little bit about this like a week or two ago. I think the Quicksilver does have some kind of sentience to it, separate from the gods. But I do think the gods can speak / communicate through it. Like it's a conduit, like to the Fey worlds or the mortal world, or however you want to say it. But then there's a question of like, what is the Quicksilver? Like, is it the gods themselves? Is it some kind of, even like some kind of collective consciousness in some way? And it actually made me think of this when I was editing and listening to our conversation that we had about their first kiss, when the Quicksilver in Fisher's eye stills. And I thought it was odd that it would be affected by that. But then again, it could be affected by his emotions in some way. But then you'd think that he'd be able to control it in some way. And it doesn't seem like he can do that. But then that takes me to another conclusion. Like, there's clearly a communication aspect to the Quicksilver, especially with the gods. We see that. And also the people of Gilthry, like when he hears Anarath Moor and all that kind of stuff. And Saras can hear it as well. And maybe the gods control the communication aspect. And then there seems to be a purely elemental aspect, like its chemical makeup or whatever, since we know that it can be forged with other elements. And then the sentient part of it, which I feel like is what can be affected by Fisher's emotions, where we can see it stilled, like when he kisses Saras or whatever. So there's like a lot of, I feel like we've only just like touch the surface of what this stuff is, really, and like what it's capable of, because there seems to be a lot of things connected to it and through it. And then I also have some thoughts about like where Saras has ended up, and now what that means for her being able to like work with it and use it and all that kind of stuff. But that'll be for thoughts and theories.
Okay.
Well, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. If it is the gods, then they can't use it anymore, or it will not be communicating with them anymore, because now Saras is something completely unknown to any of them, that none of them would even know like who she is or where she's at, or they can't interfere, or whatever that wording was at the end. And maybe it's the same with Kingfisher with that deal as well, because obviously he's met with them a couple times and the Quicksilver is still communicating with him that way. So that would make me think we're not going to see that again in a future book, if it is only the gods. Because
it'll
gods,
obviously
I
be
assume, are gone.
It'll obviously
From their story.
be really interesting to see like what kind of communication we get come Brimstone, because especially since they're working to get it out of him, so it's like, what will that mean for him moving forward? Because if they're extracting it basically, then he's not going to have that like communication. So it'll be interesting to see like at the start of the book what that looks like for him.
I think it would have to be at least equal to or greater than the gods, because it is everywhere. It has potential omnipotence because
Right.
Yeah.
one piece of Quicksilver seems to know everything that's happening in another pool wherever. And
That's
I don't
true.
know if necessarily it's a material that is made within those pools, or if you went mining in a mountain somewhere, you could be like, oh, I found more Quicksilver, and
Yeah, right.
it's been there for who knows how long. But not only that, but it's in every world. It's like the connection
Yeah.
point to these different worlds. And it seems to me that the gods themselves can only be in one world at a time. So
I like it. Nice. Okay.
But later,
Interesting.
whenever Kingfisher does have his sword, he has a moment where it says, and as if the twins precisely knew what I was thinking, the iron in my hand seemed to buzz with energy growing heavy. A reminder. And then it like talks about what that is and what the reminder is. And so it seemed like in that moment that the twins were talking through the sword, or like trying to like nudge, give him a direction to go through the god sword, not through the Quicksilver, which is readily in his head and has been talking to him this whole entire time. So that's why I'm like, I don't know that it is the gods. I feel like the gods, being gods, they can do whatever the heck they want. If they want to talk in the Quicksilver, then cool. If they want to
Yeah.
talk in the sword, then awesome. But like, I don't think it's only the Quicksilver. I think it could be whatever.
What was the quote again?
And as if the twins knew precisely what I was thinking, the iron sword in my hand seemed to buzz with energy, growing heavy. A reminder, a gentle nudge. And then it like italics what their gentle nudge is, that they're not in the business of affecting with the affairs of lesser creatures. They just want, to like help him, kind of a thing. And that's why we gave you the sword. We armed you with the tool you need to end this. I'm not sure.
But you say the gods are gods and they can do whatever they want. But in the end of Quicksilver, even, we learned that that's not necessarily true, because they couldn't stop Saras and Kingfisher from eventually having their bond and coming together. He was like, well, I've stopped it, however many times, but whatever.
That's true.
You guys are...
There's some
so, like,
things, but it sounds like they can just say, hey, come talk to me, and they just take
Right.
you out of your realm into theirs. So they could just pop down and say something. They could talk through. Like,
Yeah.
Which
that
is
just seems a
true.
little more open.
True, maybe even of the Quicksilver too. Like, obviously, it's not all powerful, or it would not have needed any help. Basically, like, it wouldn't need an alchemist's
Yeah.
help or anything like that.
Well, and as you were talking about that, I was thinking about how the only times that we know of, at least, I know we don't have all the information, but like the only times that they have been able to just pull someone into their realm was when they themselves, like, not the gods, Saras or Kingfisher, was like really, really weak and on the brink of death. And
Yeah, it's
then
almost
they
like
were
they're
able
in
to do
in
that.
between.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if the Quicksilver has more to do with that in between, because I wonder if that's, I guess, related to like an in between place between realms, as
places.
well as life and death, maybe. But I will say, the first time that John told me that he thought that the Quicksilver had its own sentience separate from whatever communication is happening, I wasn't really on board with it. But after reading these chapters, I definitely am.
I think
So proud.
I think I would say that it definitely has its own sentience too, and I would almost put it closer to just sort of a universal sentience. Like, it knows the path it wants the universe itself to take and the story of everyone to unfold, and it tries its best to nudge it in that direction.
Yeah.
Whether, I will say, I do think it is its own sentience. Whether or not it is one consciousness in that sentience, I don't know. Because it seems like there might be multiple voices.
Yeah.
But maybe even
Well-
multiple opinions within itself.
Right.
Well, that I feel like is true, that they're different, because when Kingfisher falls into the Quicksilver, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, we're coming. Oh, wait, he is us. Wait, what is this? Like, it's like they
that's
were
true.
Yeah.
surprised that he had Quicksilver. They weren't aware. The Quicksilver that he was in was not aware of the Quicksilver that was in his head.
Yeah.
So I
Which
would
is
agree
super
that it's not
interesting.
all the same.
That is interesting.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
That was the primary thing that made me think it does have its own sort of sentience. Was the way that the Quicksilver was like speaking in that moment specifically.
Yeah.
But
While we're talking about Quicksilver, I thought it was really interesting how he was talking about how he could feel the shift of the Quicksilver in his eye, like a vibration, and said, like, once I was able to notice it more, and now it's kind of like a background thing, until he says, now I only realize it was happening when others witnessed it and forgot to hide their shock. So now I kind of want to go back to all the times that Saras noticed, because she mentioned that a lot. And like, would say something about, oh, the Quicksilver still, or the Quicksilver was swirling, or it was going like really crazy and all the things. And I want to know what all those conversations were, or all the things he was hearing. And I know that probably half of it is like literal nonsense, he's losing his mind kind of stuff, because we see a little bit of that here too in these chapters. But I don't know. I'm just really interested into what all of that would be, because I just feel like it's, I don't know, I want to know all the things. But while still with the Quicksilver, did anyone else's audiobook talk over itself? Like there was parts that the book was talking, and then all of a sudden the Quicksilver was talking on top of the actual book talking, and then the Quicksilver like talked again by itself. Did that happen to anybody else?
Yeah.
Like Kingfisher or Renfist even was talking, and it was both of the Quicksilver voices over it. And I was like, this is very rude. I can't hear anything that's happening. And I was doing my usual thing, audiobooking and playing a video game, and it was a horror game, and I was like, it's too intense. I can't take all of this at the same time.
If I wasn't reading the website along with doing the audiobook, I think I would have been very lost in a lot of this, because there's a lot of discrepancies between the audiobook, which I assume is the most new information and most accurate, because there was even extra sentences that were not on the website, and there was a couple name switches that I'll talk about later that were on the website that were not in the audiobook, or it's like they're not the same from the two. So this one, I don't know if it was on purpose. Like, we're supposed to see what it's like as Kingfisher, where you're trying to hear your friend talk to you on the battlefield, but also the Quicksilver's talking to you in your head, and his whole like paranoia and what those moments must feel like, or if it was like an editing error. I don't really know, but listening it at a faster speed, I was like, whoa,
It's jarring. Yeah.
it was. Had to slow it down, and then it all made sense. But
Yeah, see, I do.
Just wondering if that was just me.
I did come away thinking like, oh, maybe they're just trying to make it feel like a battle, but it was.
I assumed that it was supposed to be like, because you're in his POV, that it is the Quicksilver talking over, like while other people are talking to him, because he has no control over that.
it's probably how it is all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. But I wasn't listening to the audio the entire time. Like, some of it I was just reading on my Kindle, because I had sent it to my Kindle to read it as like an EPUB file. So some of the time I was not listening to the audio, so I didn't catch all of it. But I noticed some of those little discrepancies and stuff too. But that was super interesting. I feel like it was on purpose.
Yeah. That was the point at which I had to, like, I just stopped playing a game and I just listened only. I was like, okay, if it's going to be that weird about it, I can't play Luigi's Mansion and do this at the same time.
That's your horror game? Are you serious right now? Oh my God.
Wow.
It's a tough world out there.
For a plumber and his vacuum.
All right. So Fisher was reminiscing in this moment on facing a smaller dragon in his youth, and how its fire was hot enough to burn warriors inside their armor. And then in his POV it says, the fire this old drake produced was nothing of the sort. When he arched his spined neck, tucked his head, and unleashed his fury, molten lava and brimstone spewed from his jaws. And I was like, brimstone! There has to be more dragons, right? This book has to have them.
I am convinced that is what is happening in the next book.
I know there's more of them.
Oh, I'm 100% convinced. And I even have some other things here in our notes to give me more evidence, maybe, or hopes and dreams, however we want to look at it. But I don't know what else brimstone, unless they're going to like a volcano. Yeah. It makes sense to me that it's dragons. But
maybe it'll be. It has to be dragons. They didn't know he had a little hatchery of eggs or something.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that later.
His offspring.
Ooh,
instead of granddad Amnon Shakrai, it'll be
daddy, the grandbabies.
Daddy.
Daddy
one generation lower, baby.
Ew.
Oh my god.
Daddy Ash.
Stop.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Speaking of Dad Ash,
good transition.
Thank you. It says, late, the dragon rumbled. You arrived too late. To my left, charging through the curtains of my smoke, I saw Lorith, white as a sheet and horrified as he sprinted. They talk? He hollered. And my note says, they talk? Khan hollered. And it was in italics. And I noticed it wasn't in italics every single time, but like, is the dragon speaking into their minds? Or is it actually like speaking with its dragon mouth? That's what I
Mine
want
was
to
in
know.
bold text.
Yeah, mine's in bold
Oh, really?
Yeah.
on the website.
Oh, it must have changed it to, I guess they don't do, maybe it's because I changed it to an EPUB file. And I don't think they do, maybe they don't do bold in the EPUB files.
mean,
on my Kindle, it
it's-
showed up as italics.
It's also italics, but it's also bold.
Oh,
So, I don't know.
wow. Okay.
It's also a bigger font. It's also in a different color and underlined.
And it's a rainbow. Every letter is a different color.
Anyway,
Right.
my first comment on the moment the dragon talked was that this audiobook narrator has range.
So much
Like,
range.
His creepy dragon voice was so good, and then he's just like
Yeah.
back into his Scottish accent or back into whatever else for some other character. Like I'm just here with some other character
Scottish
that's
accent
not
or whatever
Red
else he does.
Anyone
Red
who's
Fist is
not
the only
Red
one who
Fist.
matters. Yeah.
Anyways, I was impressed. I'm super impressed.
He
So
was-
shout
he
out.
was
to
really
Anthony.
Yeah.
Good
This
job.
was one I had to start and stop reading a few times at the beginning of this. So this was a part that I was only reading on my Kindle. And the note I actually put in there in the dialogue was like, I cannot wait to hear how Anthony reads this. And then
Yeah.
I went back and listened to it later and I was like, oh my gosh, it's so good.
Yeah, it was.
Shout out to
super
Anthony
good.
Palmini.
Big shout
So
out.
good.
But we learn here earlier in this section, and then they talk about it later too, about the oath that the dragon made with the city, that he was going to attack the city. And then we find out that he's betrayed them and he's going to work with Malcolm. And then for some reason, Lorith is surprised they talk. It's like, we just learned about all of his business meetings. Like, he's clearly been pretty busy, like talking to everybody.
They knew
Why
he
are
could
we
sign a
surprised?
contract, so they didn't know he could talk.
I was just like, of course they talk. He made an oath or something.
That never crossed my mind.
He's got like readers, and he's
Yeah.
like looking at a contract, like
He's got a little
Dips his
suit
signed
towel in
it.
some
on.
ink.
yeah.
I knew he
signs
got a
had
little
good
suit on
lawyers,
in
but
a
I didn't know he knew how to
briefcase.
talk.
He had a lot of meetings. He made a lot of oaths and all the things. But somehow we're surprised they talk. But
Yeah.
sure,
Wow.
whatever, Lorith. You're new.
Businessman should cry.
He's figuring out. It's his first dragon, probably. So,
Wow. Yeah, I was shocked because it didn't cross my mind, even though I knew that the dragon had made some sort of oath. I just didn't think about the fact that he'd be able to talk.
it just changed my thoughts on dragon. Like, it gave more Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit kind of dragon in my brain than it did like Empyrean series dragon. Like,
Yeah.
I just had to switch what kind of dragon I was working with, if that made sense.
That's a perfect. Yeah, I definitely envisioned more of a Smog like dragon for sure.
Especially with
Yeah.
them like giving all their jewels and all their money and
Smaug,
stuff. And he's
sorry.
and he's just sitting in his castle wherever he's at with all his jewels until he got
Yep.
bored.
Yep.
You know.
Totally. Yeah.
Connor.
Lord of the Rings for sure.
It's the Hobbit, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
The Hobbit for sure.
Different movie.
Different book.
I've never seen it. I've never read it.
Wow.
Well, I've seen the extended edition of all of the Lord of the Rings movies, but I couldn't tell you a single thing about them.
I could
And I
quote.
never
one
watched
thing?
The Hobbit. No, not one, not a single thing. Other
Not
than
even-
maybe Second Breakfast. I guess that's the
That
one.
is an
That's a
important
good
thing to
takeaway,
remember.
actually.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a
that
good
is.
thing.
I was gonna say like maybe not anything hinted at in the title, but yeah, you got second breakfast, so you're good.
I get it.
She was like,
all
I
you
know
really
nothing of
need.
Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit. You don't know about the Hobbits? It's fine.
I know,
I
they
know there was a lord of
exist.
something. I don't know.
Something.
Second breakfast. That's amazing.
Then Kingfisher clenches his jaw. Cheers,
we got a
everybody.
junkies.
We'll get some jaw ticks today.
Pinky out.
This is the first time in the timeline he does it.
Oh.
In the timeline. Ooh.
Wow. Abed. Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
That's the biggest compliment I've ever been paid.
That's the second community reference we've made this episode.
know.
So shout out to us, everybody.
Wow.
Branching
Do you
out
see our value
on
now?
We're
References.
streets ahead.
Streets.
Blocks, some would say.
How many meow meow beans do you get for that?
That'll be the next thing is that a pre-chat blurb is just walking and going, Dean here.
Come in a new outfit every
Yes.
time.
It's the dean.
What am I doing? I gotta go to the bank today. where he was in
yeah.
2 different hats.
Yeah.
I could quote that show all day,
Wow.
but we can't.
Oh, dang.
That one too.
Troy and Abed off to dreamland.
Taking the boat to Sleepy Town.
The train.
Train. Dang it!
And when you wake
move on
up,
now.
the deer will be here,
Walk it off, Kyle.
staring at you.
Watching you sleep.
Oh,
Good
it's so
stuff.
good. So when Fisher stabs Namshakai's wing, it says the dragon screamed, "Cursedborn, release me." So the dragon is calling Kingfisher Cursedborn. I guess I'm still confused why people call him the living curse too. Have we discussed this already and I forgot, or do we still not know?
I don't know.
We don't know.
I don't think we've
Okay.
talked about it.
Other than maybe the fact that he has the Quicksilver in his eye and people think that's means he's cursed. That'd be my only guess of things we potentially know.
Yeah, but he calls
That
him
would
Cursed
be-
Born.
Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe like because he fell in when he was young, right? Young,
Yeah, he's
in
born
quotation.
of the Quicksilver.
Like reborn in it or something.
Oh. Baptized.
Yeah, the
Baptized
Christianity.
in the Quicksilver.
He's been born again.
I'm a believer.
That's wow.
Yeah, you guys didn't get baptized to Smash Mouth.
Well, he couldn't leave her if he tried.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay. Anyway, where I was going with this is that the dragon calls him Cursedborn, but then immediately after that, as Fisher is watching him struggle, in his POV it says, "It brought me no pleasure to see a living being suffer, but this was different. A dragon was a curse. Their hearts were hollow black voids, and where no good thing could survive." So maybe this word's just being thrown around a whole lot. I just thought it was interesting that the dragon called him Curseborn, and then he referred to dragons as a curse. So maybe Kingfisher is actually just a bunch of dragons in a trench coat.
Maybe. Barely holding it together.
You, Connor. I'm so mad because you say that stuff all the time, but every time is so funny, and I don't want to laugh at it because you don't. Oh.
Do they change places to kiss Sarah? So like, it's my turn.
It's like Balin Mythin. What does he taste like? I want to know. It's my turn. Whew, okay. Then Fisher sets his jaw, exhaling long and slow.
Like that.
Yes.
Ah.
I am so interested in this fact about the iron and how Faye can't touch it. And I mean, I've read only since my adult reading have I read stuff about Faye. I'm not like as well versed in that, I guess, other than Sarah J. Maas's world, really. So this is something that I felt like was new to me, and I don't know if this is like a long thing about the Fae. And Kyle shaking his head yes, so I'm taking
Shaking
that
my
as-
yes head.
shaking his yes head yes. So I guess that is, but that was new to me, and I thought that was very interesting. And then I immediately wondered if this is something that Saras will be fine with, since she's only half Fae, but she's also half vampire, and she's also an alchemist. So maybe she'll just be totally fine with this material one day whenever she assumedly meets it in her future, and maybe everyone else will be stopped, but she'll be fine or something. And I don't know. But I do love also that Kingfisher saw his friend get hurt, and we get this really sad story about Ren, but then immediately started to like trying to train himself to withstand it, so that like none of his friends that ever had to go through that again, or he could put himself in this exact position that he's in with the iron, so his friends didn't have to. Like,
I love him so much.
I do too, and I love Ren.
What a guy. Yeah.
Bros for life.
Just a fun fact, though. Iron is a super long-standing thing for fairies, and a lot of people think it's because it's sort of an anathema to nature. Like, it's very indicative of humans. And Fae is like nature and, you know, everything woodsy and floral, and iron is like solid. And but also some people say it's because it's a pure metal, and they can't touch like the pure metal or whatever.
Interesting.
But, yeah, it's a very long-standing myth. One of the longest for Fae, I think.
So in D&D, should I be carrying around some iron in case we
You
go
are
back
half Fae,
to the-
so should you?
I was going to say in case you send us back to the Fae realm, but okay. For the Fae
You
Wild.
want? You could try. You want to?
Okay, good to know.
Roll for dexterity.
hold on, I got my dice.
All right, we hinted at this a little bit earlier, but Nam Shakrai, as Kingfisher is trying to push the gate closed, says, and like Kingfisher's hand is like burning and stuff. The dragon says, "Ah, that smell, such a smell, a smelly smell that smells smelly."
A smelly hand.
Scorched fey flesh, soon it will be mine, all of it will be mine. A mountain of meat, yes, LOL. It will sate us for 1,000 years and more. This place is but a graveyard. I will pick your bones clean. But I highlighted it will sate us. Because he says it will be mine, but it will sate us. And then I wrote, more dragons?
My comment after that, yours, was just like how I had mentioned a collective consciousness with the Quicksilver. So that was the first thing that came to mind for me here. I don't know what that would mean in this scenario, or with Amnon Shakrai specifically, or with other dragons. I don't know. That was just first thought.
Oh, or is it because the feeders are coming?
It could be.
Possibly
He
that
eats
too.
supposedly.
I don't feel like he
eats
cares.
the ones that, the ones that don't wake up, he eats. So
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, like, he's saying us, it will say to us, like me and the feeders, because
Oh.
he's got this, like, bargain with
Yeah, possibly.
Malcolm.
No,
but
I
I'm hoping it
immediately
means
thought-
dragons.
Yeah, I immediately thought babies, that he has
Oh.
baby dragons. And that's maybe why he decided after all this time to like change his oath or like break his oath. Because now he has babies to take care of. All
Mouths
this
to
other time
feed.
he didn't.
he's
Yeah.
mother birding and
You know,
back home.
life changes when you have kids. And you got to put them first.
You got bills to pay, you got
got-
mouths to feed.
And if you got an oath or two to break, you got to do it.
We've been there, you know. When I was a kid, I worked up all these oaths. Then I had kids. Ugh. My thought was just the royal we, like how a lot of people in a royal office will say we instead of I or me. I just thought
Yeah.
he thought of himself as sort of, you know, big old king dragon. This will say us. This will say whatever.
Me and my belly.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
and my belly.
Connor, not the snort.
Or maybe, wait, he's just a bunch of dragons in a trench coat.
The build up to that was 10 out of 10.
We need more lava. We need more lava.
What if instead of 1,000 dragons, they thought we were just one really big dragon?
That'll scare him.
They're so tiny.
The poor dragons that are the wings are like, oh my god.
Wow. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure I was reading this next part correctly, because the Quicksilver is saying, we are not bound by foreign magics, nor shall you be. And this is like, then it says that like the burning stops in his hands. And so is the Quicksilver muting the magic of the gates? Did I read that right?
Word. Yep.
Yes.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
That's all. That was nuts. I had to like read that a
gives
couple of
gods
times.
to me.
Yeah.
More than just a random, metal out there in the world.
I mean, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I was about to make an
It
argument,
just-
but then I was like, you know what? I'm going to pick my battle. So I was going to say gloves would do just as good of a job. But
That's so valid. But thank you, Kyle. But this interaction here where they're just like, and it's changed is very much like when Zareth said to Saras, like, and now you'll be something completely different. Poof.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she's half vampire, half fae. This is what that felt like to me.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Also gloves. Next time.
the Quicksilver maybe just put a thin layer of itself over his hands. Like, I got you.
Oh, you're saying it gave him gloves. I thought you were saying he should have started with
I mean, he
gloves
could have
the
also
whole
just
time.
worn gloves.
worn.
Honestly, if you're going into battle without a good pair of leather gloves, what are you doing?
What are you
You're
doing?
going to get blisters on your palms from the sword handle.
A couple blisters on my fingers.
And people from New York know this more than others, Kyle? Or where'd the accent come from?
You've been to New York. Did you not see all of the sword fights they have?
I guess I went to the wrong part.
They bump into someone on the street and they, on guard, sir.
Okay. He's the only one of us who hasn't been to New York, so
I've
he
been to the
clearly
New
knows.
York airport. Thank you very much.
Which one, Kyle?
I think it was LaGuardia.
Oh.
The Guardian Leviosa.
Cool.
The Guardian of the Galaxy? Let's move on.
What is happening tonight?
It's been a week. We haven't recorded. We've been saving all of this up. All four of us.
Oh my gosh. Okay, my next note is just about how much I love Renfis because Fisher is at the gate and he's like giving up. And Fisher says, I tried. And Renfis goes, oh, okay, perfect. When the historians revisit Adrian in a couple of centuries, I'll make sure they chisel that into your headstone then. He tried. It's like, man, I love him. But I almost cried like right before this when I don't think Fisher hears him approaching or anything. He just says, get up. And it reminded me of like early Throne of Glass.
Oh,
it's not a spoiler. It's just like it was an emotional moment and it just reminded me of that and it almost made me cry. But then you guys, I did cry right after this. I'm on the freaking cry counter.
Connor!
This got me when it says, my brother rose with me. You can do this, he said softly. So I did. Not because I believed that I could, but because he believed that I could. And then a little bit later it says, and just as the ward failed and Malcolm's ravenous horde broke through my shadows, I pushed through that fucking gate and my brothers pushed me. And I cried, you guys.
That's so good, though. It's
Is
such
a
a
bonus
good
chapter
part.
cry worth more than a regular cry?
2 cries.
It's
a
worth
bonus
more
cry.
points.
Bonus cry.
I like that. It's a bonus cry. That's
It's like the end of Mario Party when they gave it a couple extra bonus stars.
That's right.
That's exactly what this is like right now.
Exactly what it's like.
Lauren,
My favorite was John's. That's right. Just completely checks out. I will validate her for one moment and move on. Thank you. I'm crying. That was great.
okay, while Lauren's crying, I'm going to start freaking out about how we get another God's interaction in the bonus chapters. John was seeing me panic in like real, not panic, but excitedly panic, I guess, in real time about this. But what my note is here is it says, when I touched my fingers to my lips, I expected them to come away red, but instead they dripped silver. Why is there so much of it? And then he gets cut off. But does anyone have any theories on this, on like why there's so much Quicksilver everywhere?
My only guess was that it was like making its own Quicksilver pool for him to like enter through. It's the only time we've seen somebody go. We learned that like Kingfisher went into the Quicksilver and that's when he like talked to them when he was younger. And then we see Saras do that at the end of the book. And so maybe this was like Quicksilver spreading around everywhere so he could go through it or something. I don't know.
So, okay, I do think that makes sense, but that is crazy that it could have the capability to just like multiply itself.
Oh, 100%.
To do that?
It's also like they're trying to get the Quicksilver out of him and it's like going away, but like, is it?
Is it?
It's just like,
I feel like it can't be.
Maybe just like appeasing them for now.
Yeah, I don't know. That's very unsettling, but I'm excited that we got the God's interaction, so I'm not mad about it. But quick side note here, that in the text, Val and Mithen keep calling Fisher Fierce Heart while they're talking to him, but in the audio, it says handsome every time.
I had noticed the exact same thing because it's not just once, it's every single time that they call him handsome. In the actual book, it says, or like on the website, it says Fierce Heart, which is interesting because we've not heard him called that ever.
Yeah.
But also, this is the part where there's a lot of extra sentences that this section has that the audiobook has and the website does not have. It's nothing like life-changing,
but
there's like, you know, just an extra whatever here and there. But
yeah, I did notice it once, but I don't think I noticed like a whole, like anything that, like you said, that's like story changing or anything.
Yeah, none of the discrepancies or like the differences between the two are big, except for maybe one that I have later. But no, most of them are just like, calling him handsome instead of Fierce Heart or something. Like, it's just whatever reason she decided to change that before the audiobook. I don't know. But the moment he like appears, before he even is aware where he is, we hear from the twins, "Shh, don't be silly. He's second handsomest." And I need to know who the first handsomest is. And why aren't we reading about him? Like, no offense, Kingfisher. I love Kingfisher so much. But like, is there another person that we should know about that's the most handsomest? And the only person I could think of that could maybe be it is Carrion, because he's actually Fae and we see this whole transformation at the end of the book. And they would know that, like past, present, future, whatever.
True.
So, I don't know. Obviously, the most handsomest could be somewhere else and not in the story at all.
That's
but
true.
I just think it's a very interesting opening statement. But whatever. Kingfisher's second most handsomest in the world.
I guess. I mean, you know, I love carrion, so that makes sense to me. Could be somewhere else. Could be someone in a different realm. I don't know.
Yes, very true.
Yeah. Maybe we'll see them at some point.
Maybe it's you, dear reader.
That sounded very. What's that show? I mean, the show's called You, but what's the actor's name?
I don't know.
That
Penn
sounded very
Badgley?
Penn
Was that his
Badgley.
name? Yeah.
That's what it was. Maybe it's you.
I haven't actually seen that either.
I've only seen like maybe a little bit of when Lauren watched it, but
Oh.
I watched it all. Anyway,
So Bal says, how many times have you visited us in our realm, Fisher? And Fisher's POV talks about the first time when Bellicon sent him into the Quicksilver without a relic as a child. Quote, then there had been another time 3 centuries ago when the god of chaos had approached me with a proposition, one that I had summarily rejected out of hand. And my note is, what? We don't know about this, right? This is all new information.
I think so. Like, we knew he obviously went when he was a kid, and that's how he got the Quicksilver in his eye or whatever, but I don't think we know. And we do know that Kingfisher pissed off all the gods.
True.
We know about that. So maybe this is that moment when
And he flips them off and stuff.
rejected something out of hand, and that's it. Made him all mad.
Yeah, maybe whatever the proposition was pissed him off. But like, what was it?
I don't know.
I need more. I'm excited about the information we have. I just have so many questions.
to polish the toe on a statue. Like, no way.
Absolutely not. Get out of here with that garbage.
For free
then
in this
Sarah's-
economy.
For free. But then Saras is there. I was freaking out. And now everything about these bonus chapters just made me want to go back and reread the whole book
Yes.
immediately.
Same.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The first time he mentioned seeing Zareth in the distance with like a female, like a, whatever, the figure, I was like, I need to know more about this female. Like, who else is there? Because that would have been the first time we heard of any other god, maybe, or whatever. And then whenever it was like very clearly Saras with him smelling her and feeling that like weird tug that he's supposed to be there or something, that is just wild. Absolutely wild. Because Saras literally just stopped talking to Bal and Mythic like 2 seconds before she went up and talked to Zareth. So like,
What?
the timeline's whatever.
I know, it's trippy. So, but then they give Kingfisher his sword, which I was also freaking out about because we didn't know how he had obtained it until now. But in his POV, it says, it felt as though a part of my soul that had been missing since birth had finally found its way back to me. And then when he asks what the sword is called, Mythin laughs and says, that's not for us to say. Only a sword's true owner may name it. This one has been waiting for millennia for you, hasn't it, sister? And Bal answers, indeed, you will know what to call it very soon, we fear. Speaking of which, ... And they just back away. And reading that after finishing the rest of the chapters is crazy. Like they knew what was about to happen, which I guess makes sense if there's the whole like past, present, future thing going on. But like the dragon calling him like curse-born, and then him saying that it feels like part of his soul that has been missing since birth has finally like returned with the sword. And then I don't know.
Waiting for a millennia. That's the part for me.
And they're the ones that give it to him.
Sword would have been around well before Kingfisher, and just sitting around waiting for him.
Yeah, I don't.
He's what, 1,300 years old? Something like that, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's
He
true.
was.
No, he's
I thought he was 17 or 1800.
Oh, at this point, yeah, he's.
Oh.
Yeah, he's got to be younger than what he was in the book, but he wasn't over 1,000.
Yeah.
I thought he was.
Well, he was 17. He was 1700.
In the book, so I feel like it would be-
1733.
Oh, okay.
So he's probably around 13, 1400 here, right?
Okay, yeah, because he only
Okay.
spent 100 years,
100,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So maybe whenever he went through the Quicksilver the first time, part of his soul was put in the sword? I don't know.
Maybe.
I was wondering here because it almost like when I read the sentence, "This one has been waiting for millennia for you." I took that as almost like it made it almost sound to me that Bao was the one to forge it.
Oh.
Like she made it so long ago and has been waiting to give it to the right person.
Watch how
But
it ends
then-
up being some like weird timeline thing, and Saras is the one who ends up making it. Like,
Pretty dope.
she's, like she ends up making the sword knowing he's going to need it one day, but she's in a different timeline inside this Quicksilver than he is. And it all like is a weird circle around.
Yeah.
Because the fates always bring them together somehow. So like,
Right.
could be literally anything.
I would have been, I guess, interested to know at what point in Kingfisher's life he lost his mom or dad, and if they are the ones that have been waiting a millennia after death in the form of a sword to meet with him or whatever.
Maybe
like
that's
they've been
how-
forged into it.
It
Maybe
could be
that's
his
how
mom.
Morel
Yeah.
was
Right.
able to like know this information from like right at the end there.
Isn't the sword black? So we learned that he got his shadow power from his mother.
Oh.
So maybe she took the form of like a black sword.
You do. Lauren
could
has
be
a note
possible.
about that later, though.
She
I
has
did see that earlier.
About the sword or the
Expensive
shadows?
I've heard
About
the
of those.
shadow thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do I.
Interesting. Okay.
Anyway.
Ooh.
And then, the last line of this, first bonus part here, it says, I was exactly where I had been mere moments before, except that now I was whole, and now I held a god sword in my hands.
Yeah.
And then moving on to The Gate Part 2, and I will give our short recap, and then we'll dive into our notes. Back at the gate, Rin calls for a retreat, but Fisher has one thing on his mind: find Omnomchakrai. He and Lorith barrel toward the dragon when they notice Morel sprinting up the slope with the child in her arms. Omnomchakrai moves, landing close and torching them along with part of the slope. Rin sees this as well and starts to draw power to himself, like in shock. Close to burnout, Lorith and Fisher come to his side through Risher's new Shadowgate ability, by the way, and Fisher orders him to release it. The power slams them back and sends a shockwave down the mountain, landing a blow to Omnomchakrai, piercing scales, something that has apparently never been done before. Fisher goes after the dragon, almost burning out himself before it goes airborne once again. He heads back to the wolves after some urging from the Quicksilver. As they decide what to do next, they witness Chakrai paint the mountainside with lava and brimstone. They figure he has to land eventually and find a spot to ambush him when he does. So they take Fisher's Shadowgate to the most likely spot. As Chakrai lands, they attack with a shout for Morel. Most of their attacks just kind of like bounce off at scales. Fisher knew he'd have to find a softer part the sword would sink into and gets a crazy idea. So he starts to run up Shakrai's back, heading for his eye. But as Fisher runs on top of Shakrai's head, he slips, trying to form a shadow gate on his way down in midair. But Omnomchakrai beats him to it, snatching him out of the air as Fisher finds himself in his jaws. As he shouts for Morel one last time and thrusts the god sword up, an unknown rush of energy comes up through Fisher and through the sword as Chakrai shudders and falls dead. Passed out in the maw of Omnomchakrai, Morel visits him. She tells him that the god swords will start failing soon, that over time their power will diminish, except for his, as she bound a part of herself to the sword. She also tells him that his mother loves him and that she will always be with him. And finally, that his mother wants to warn him to protect his true name, that his life depends on it, and Morel disappears. Wow.
Woo!
So much.
Crazy for part 2. I have the first couple of notes here for this part, but the beginning, when it's talking about like death and like his perspective on it and how he wants to like die in bed, having just finished a good book, like dawn coming through the window, birds singing, something sweet on the air. I put in parentheses here, maybe like lilies and sugar and light and laughter, question mark. That was how he described his senses when he noticed like Saras up talking to Zareth. Anyway, the description here is truly incredible. I loved like the first couple pages here of this. It was really, really cool to read. I thought she did amazing at just like writing this. And then my next note here, Fisher using his shadows to like save one of the Fae from a feeder. It says her head tore clean off her shoulders, spraying black ichor and spinal fluid into the air, and the male cried out in horror. And I was like, I love a good decap. Yeah, love it.
Good decap.
That was great. That was a good one.
Well, as he was walking away from that, he says, "Of course, a broken neck was nothing to one of these devils. Even if every bone in their bodies was broken, they would keep on coming, desperate to feed. It took more to put them down for good." And I would like to know what exactly is more. Like, do we set him on fire?
A decap.
Just the decap.
Yeah. So I think this is like right before he, or right, I don't know, this is right around he does. Because he says like he snaps her neck first when it's like on top of the dude. And then he's like, oh, that won't do it. And that's when he like decaps her.
All right. That's less exciting than what I was hoping for, but that's okay.
What method of death would you have preferred?
I don't know. I'm just thinking through all
Drawn and
my
quartered. Tarred and feather.
vampire knowledge, and some do like
So
you
stake
can
to
put their
the heart.
bodies back
Yeah.
together
Sure.
and all
Stake
the
to the
things
heart.
and so whatever.
Throw
Yeah,
rice in
or
front
stake
of
to the
it.
heart, set them on fire. There's a whole bunch of things. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's all right. I
Holy
guess a
water.
decap. Yeah, there you go.
Kind of one of those things that you also were like, well, that would kill anyone. Are we sure he was a vampire?
Yeah. True.
So I also really loved the way that this was described in Fisher's POV. It says, "The god sword in my hands buzzed frantically as if it had been waiting for this moment for an eternity." We talked about this earlier. "It wanted me to lay its edge against something foul. It wanted to enact justice, but the inaugural blood I spilled across this blade would not be a feeder's blood. I was going to baptize it with something far more legendary."
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yes. The writing.
Ah, it's so good.
Yeah. So great.
So this all happens when Morel dies, which is horrible, and the descriptions and her trying to save the kids and all the things. And Ren understandably freaks out, and this is after they like kind of get him out of the space, and Fisher says he'll be okay. But even as I said it, I knew the chances of Renfis ever being okay again were slim. He just lost his sister, his twin, and to lose a twin, to lose the bond they shared, Ren would never feel whole again. And I just don't feel like when I read the book I got that vibe from Ren. Now, obviously, this was like a long time ago, and, you know, he can do whatever he would like with however many feelings he wants to share and such. But I just never got, like, whether or not I knew he had a sister or not, I never felt like he was mourning or felt like a loss or never looked at other people and maybe felt sad, you know, or some of those other things that could have been described that would make me think something traumatic, like giant and traumatic happened to Renfis. But again, I talked about that earlier when I found out he had a sister, that I just want to know more about him and his life and all the things.
You're saying that, actually, it just like it dawned on me. Maybe this is why he was so torn up about Everlane. Like being like captured or whatever. Because he just...
I thought he liked Everlane. But it
well,
could be
I do still think that is true. But it just made me think like, oh, well, I mean, it's like it's his best friend's sister now.
Yeah.
And it's like maybe he's like, oh my gosh, I'm having to see almost like two sisters possibly die here. So maybe that was part of his
That's true.
like shock and stuff when he's like spacing out around
Yeah.
that time when they're like trying to
Yeah,
figure
because he
out
did
how to
space out
save
a
her.
couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sad.
That is.
I get sort of a response to your note here because he said, like, oh, I need to reread to see this reaction from him. I think if you did, you might find, I think, one of the strongest portrayals of Renfis going through something or having gone through something would be his understanding of the pain he saw in others and his ability to reason through it with them. Like his ability to guide others through their pain or around the pain of others, like he often did with Saras and Kingfisher, sort of telling her, like, here's what Kingfisher's going through, comes from him living it himself. And, like, even though he might only be a step or two ahead of them in healing, he is still capable of being the leader there.
Yeah.
Sweet man.
He's amazing.
That makes me want to reread it even more.
I know.
Great analysis.
I feel like I
Kyle.
see everybody in a different light, even more than I did at the end of the book.
Yeah, same. So while Renfis is like seeing this happen, this like sonic wave explodes from him, and it says the blow it dealt was more fearsome than a lightning strike. It hit Namshakrai in the side, piercing thick scales and spearing the beast between his ribs. Nothing had ever pierced dragon's skill before. Nothing. So number one, this was just crazy to read. My note in was like all caps, whoa. But this seems like a one-time thing driven by Ren's grief. But, like, what the heck else can Ren do? I want to see more of his power. This is wild.
Yeah, because we don't see that in the book.
Yeah.
I feel like
I don't
see his cool sword fighting skills and
Yeah.
all of that, but I don't feel like I remember major magic moments.
No, we see his weird like orb thing at the Darn. Yeah.
Kyle?
Thank you. But I'm trying to remember, is one time, does his power one time like help break the ice? I can't remember if like his whole light orb does something, but I know he like sends it out there and it helps kind of like shatter it or like helps push some of those feeders down into the water or something. But yeah, that's pretty much like all we get. But I'm wondering too, based on what like how Kingfisher reacted to this when he says like he'll never be the same. I'm wondering if he was also referencing like his magic. I wonder if he still went like a little too far.
Yeah.
Even though he didn't like burn out completely. But I wonder if that's partially why we don't see like
Him going
anything
crazy
bigger
with it.
from him. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good point.
I also keep thinking about the Lorith's angel's breath thing that happened, because that happened twice with him, and it seemed like it was tied to his god sword.
Right.
But I guess I'm curious about what the difference is between something like that and then something like this, where it's more of an emotionally driven, like grand expanse of power.
Well, it sounds like he just, because for a while I thought Kingfisher's shadows were maybe from his sword. But this is for sure that his shadows are himself.
Yeah.
And his sword is something different. And so I think that would just be that Runfist has magic and Lorith doesn't. Or maybe Lorith's is through song or something because he's a bard and it's different. But it's just that Lorith also gets a sword later that also has magic. I don't know.
Yeah.
I had assumed that the god swords were tied specifically to the gods, and whatever happened with the gods is why they started failing. I guess we don't really get, I don't remember if we get like a timeline of like when they went on their pilgrimage or whatever, like when they left. So I don't know if that had something to do with
I would think
the
it's
timing
after
wise.
this, if Morel's like, just so you know, the god swords are going to start failing. And
I just didn't know if it was like way longer ago than that or what. I don't remember.
Didn't they say it was around the time the Quicksilver stilled, or am I mixing up timelines now?
Yeah, I don't remember.
no, I think you're right.
I need to do like a whole timeline thing, because I keep getting confused on like when things are happening.
And if that's the case, that would have been like, you know,
Long time
1,500 years ago or something like that. So
Well, and if the timeline does continue to like jump and cross each other, like with this Kingfisher and Saras in the gods place, like I feel like having a timeline is going to end up being super crucial.
yeah, it
to
might help a lot.
understanding the story.
I think that might just be I don't know how to say it, a regional thing. Like next to the gods there, time just sort of happens all at once. And it's not, but like everywhere else, time is still normal, but you could get pulled out of the timeline at any point and maybe see anything else happening in that timeline.
Yeah, but I think it's still important to know what would be happening in that moment.
I guess. You'd have to have two different timelines almost, like a timeline for the gods' scape and the mortal plane.
Yeah.
And you have
The
that
Jeremy
one
Bearimy
timeline
of it all.
where they all wear goatees and they're all evil.
Yeah.
The darkest timeline.
The darkest timeline. Okay, so we had talked before a little bit about whether or not the Quicksilver really causes madness, but this excerpt definitely made it click a little bit more for me when all the feeders appear to Kingfisher as Morel, like blaming him for her death.
Yeah.
And he's
Creepy.
trying to like combat it in his mind. And so he's thinking, he says, shut up. And then he's like, it wasn't real. The things I saw could never really be trusted. The Quicksilver in my head showed me all kinds of hallucinations, and none of them were kind, but these visions were particularly cruel. And then this kind of connects to a note that I had about the very last chapter when we see this interaction between like Saras and Heron, like their first interaction when Kingfisher comes out of the Quicksilver. And from his perspective, he's like, oh, Heron would never know about the maze, but that's what he's talking about. So the Quicksilver must be showing him visions of it.
Yeah.
Like those two things combined, I was like, okay, this makes a lot more sense, because we had also had a lot of conversations about that.
Right.
So this, though, makes me think it's not the gods, unless the gods are just complete a-holes.
Right.
That they would just throw this in his face so many times.
I mean, that's
I'm just saying.
Experience in books would show.
True.
This could also explain the conversation he has with Morel later when he's in the jaw of Namshakrai, and she's like, hey, talk to your mom, she loves you, also don't share your name. Like, that whole thing could just be a hallucination.
Oh.
Like, no one's saying that's actually true. It could just be the Quicksilver.
Oh,
Like,
I hate that.
Nothing from his VOV could be facts. It could also just all be made up. Like,
So I wonder if he doesn't even trust that, like what he saw.
yeah. I just don't know how she would have in that, 10 seconds chatted with his mom.
I have notes about that too.
It could just be made
Wow,
up.
okay.
He's already seeing Morel
Oh my
everywhere.
God. I didn't even think about that.
I didn't either.
Lauren.
I didn't write the book.
Unless, like you said, if you're in the Godscape times
Oh my
whatever,
gosh.
you can see whatever from any
Right.
time.
Yeah,
You know?
that's true. Yeah, maybe Morel had already been hanging out with whoever on the other side of wherever they die, and then she came back in that moment. And
Yeah.
Kingfisher, it felt really fast, but Morel had been years or something. Who knows?
It's crazy.
That blew my mind a little bit.
Welp.
Sorry. Well, let's take a break, because right as Kingfisher jumps through a shadow gate to go face the dragon, he sets his jaw. So, drinkies.
Cheers, these.
Oops.
And then this is the moment when he feels with the sword that the twins were kind of pushing him one way or the other, trying to be like, we're not in the business of affecting with lesser creatures, so we gave you the sword to do the things and whatever. So, Kyle? So, we already kind of talked about that, but I'm not convinced that the Quicksilver is the gods. But
Yeah.
I'm
I'm not anymore either.
Yeah. Like I said, equal to or greater than, probably, in my head.
Do you think the Quicksilver would be more equivalent to the Fates?
Yeah,
in the
that's what I was
story?
thinking, something that
Yeah.
literally binds the worlds together, and that's why it is the entrance to all worlds. And
I know that the realms were on that tree, but did the tree have Quicksilver?
It was dripping Quicksilver like
Yeah.
it was sap.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
literally connecting all the things and seeing all the things. And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
maybe all those voices that he hears, since they're in the same voices as the narrators themselves, are all of the versions of themselves that didn't find each other, and they're guiding them through the life that they should have.
Oh, that's cute and depressing.
Because if they come from the tree, they would know which versions of themselves have been pruned. And they'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
they have all the experiences of all the Sarases and Kingfishers in the multiverse of this series.
Wow. Connor's broken. She's buffering.
But that's why they'd be so crazy, too, because it's all those experiences they're trying to reconcile.
True.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh, okay. That's a good one. Oof. All right. Well, on a sort of unserious note, Kingfisher's about to form the Shadow Gate to transport the Lupaperlia to attack the dragon, right? Is that this part that we're at? And he says, we're probably about to die, but at least they'll sing songs about us. That's one way to live forever. And I wrote, LOL, rip.
Also, why would he say this if he didn't want Lorith to write a song about it? I don't know.
Maybe because he didn't know how it was going to go yet.
That's true.
Speaking of the Shadow Gate, I had kind of a funny note here. I appreciate that she writes in his struggle to master it here. It's a new ability. He's only ever done it once before. And the fact that she has him basically trip through it and just land on his face, I thought was just a nice touch,
Yeah.
Especially because when we see him, he's just like, oh, Shadow Gate here, Shadow Gate there.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So,
like he
it's
had to
fun to see his
learn how
growth.
to use it.
That is pretty funny.
And then this, I just wrote, because I've already talked about it, but I just wrote about how they called him Grandfather Ash. I just think it's funny. All of his names. Anyway.
And we talked about this a little bit too, but I feel like I probably should have seen Nimrel's name coming from a mile away, but I did not. And this part where they started chanting Nimrel, Nimrel, Nimrel gave me chills, because that was the moment that it clicked for me and I put it together. It was really cool though.
Yeah, I did not put it together. I was like, what does knee mean? What does that mean? And then it's about a sister. Like, okay, whatever. And then I moved on. And then I come in here and then I see your note. And I was like, oh my gosh, Nimmerel, that's the sword's name. Oh, it all makes sense now.
It didn't click until after you finished all of them and came in to do your notes.
Yeah, and I read your note. Let me be the blonde one of the group. It's fine.
That's amazing.
My only addition to it was when I heard it was that I'm pretty sure that Ni can also be like a surname similar to Mick or Mac in Gaelic naming, but it means like daughter of. So it'd be like daughter of Morel.
Ooh,
Interesting.
that's kind of cool. They do say it means for Morel,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
in the old Fae or whatever. But yeah, that's interesting too. Especially since she like left part of her soul with it.
Yeah.
But also in this moment, there's another one of the Lupoprilia that falls off the dragon. And Kingfisher's like, I'll think about him later. And then like continues
Oh,
on.
no.
And we never find out what happened to him.
Oh.
But he's not in the
He's
book
one of
Quicksilver.
them. Yeah,
What were the other names?
Corix and
Foley?
It was Foley.
Foley
It was, like,
and
the one that started with
Vashkedian.
F.
Yeah.
So
Foley.
the other two, though, we haven't met either. And we don't know if they're alive or if they're out there. Well, technically, we don't know if Foley's alive or if he's...
yeah.
Are they all going to come back? And we're going to meet them in Brimstone or a future book? Or why wouldn't they be all together as a group? Or what's going on there? So
Maybe he becomes an OBGYN and they name the Foley balloon after him.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. John's face right now. Wow, Connor. I think
Just where my
that's
brain went
exactly
when I heard
what
Foley.
happened. That's it.
That's it. Case closed. Moving on.
As if we were trying to figure it out this whole time.
We follow the trail of clues. It's just one dot to another in Connor's mind.
Case closed. So we
Amazing.
move on to the next section, which is Fisher having this conversation with Morel in this place between places. First of all, I did think it was super interesting that Morel mentions that they could have been more romantically involved.
Super interested in that.
Yeah, but he knew, I mean, Fisher would have known at this point that his mate was coming and that it wasn't Morel. And so it just made me wonder how many times as an immortal he would have passed up opportunities to be with someone because he knew that Saras would eventually show up.
And I feel like Kingfisher wouldn't have even done it for himself. He would think, for them,
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
not going to be with them because they can find their real person since I know mine's out there. Like, he would be like that selfless way of looking at it.
Yeah, or like we could be together, but it would only ever be temporary if my mate shows up or something.
And to the people that were like hitting on him, and he's like, sorry, I know who my mate is, and it's not you. It was like, oh, dang, that only made you hotter, actually. So,
Before we get into the specifics of what Morel tells Fisher here, I would love to get everyone's thoughts on when/how she got this information. Because again, this is like all the time trippy timeline stuff. Is everything that Morel is saying here coming from Fisher's oracle mother, like all of it, including the beginning stuff about the god swords failing soon? And if it is this new information that was just passed from Adina to Morel in this place between places somehow? Or do you think Adina maybe told Morel all of this before she died and Morel just held on to it until now? Or did Morel somehow plan this for Fisher a millennia ago based on what Balin Mithin said? Or maybe not Morel, but Adina or something. I'm just like, the timeline thing is so trippy. What are your thoughts on that?
to have an actual thought on it, I'd have to know how long Morel knew Kingfisher. Does it ever say like how long they knew each other or how long they were they like, did they grow up together? Would she have known his mother?
We learn in the other POV that Renfis, like in one of the other chapters, that Renfis is his longest friend
Right.
for his like whole life. So assumingly that Morel would also be around.
Because I kind of wonder if it wouldn't be one of those things where Morel was obviously into him at younger ages and his mom was just like, honey.
Nuh-uh.
You know, she was just like,
That's a good question.
You're his mom.
I think it goes back to, was this made up in his brain? Was the timeline where, like I said earlier, she could have just been chilling in the afterlife for thousands of years or something, and then
Infinity.
then just showed up now. I'm more interested in how she ended up in the sword, and how that
Yeah.
worked.
Right.
Because the sword wasn't anywhere near where she was when she died. She wasn't there when he got the sword. He didn't even know she was on the battlefield. So did she even know the sword was there to think,
Right.
I'm going to go into his sword? Like, whenever she died to give part of her soul up, like, that part is more confusing to me than necessarily even the conversation. But I don't know.
Would you maybe say that she possibly visited Balan Mithin or Zareth before,
Oh,
and that's
maybe
how
that Morel did?
Yeah, and which also makes me wonder. So it's interesting that we see like basically both Saras and Kingfisher like on their deathbed. They go and they're like pulled up to them or whatever you want to call it.
Oh, true.
Does everybody do that at death? And that's kind of how.
Or maybe
There's something with like the soul there. Maybe that even
almost
has
say
to
no,
do.
because with the sword, they were like, we don't, spend time with lesser creatures or whatever. We don't.
Well,
But it still that could have still happened to her because she was so closely tied to Kingfisher, and they had this whole thing going on with like the fates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
didn't Zareth in Quicksilver say something to the effect that he himself had sort of cut the gods off from interacting with certain parts of the world?
I thought they
I
cut
think so.
themselves
I
off.
don't remember.
Like that Kingfisher pissed him off, and they wanted to just end the whole world, so they just kind of gave up, and he was the only one who was
Okay,
sticking
well,
around.
That just makes me wonder if, like, yeah, maybe that is part of his whole thing now. If he's the only god left, everyone who dies has to go. He's the only one there. Go through me first, on to the afterlife.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh.
That's interesting. So Morel is talking about, so this is when she starts talking about how the god swords will start failing soon. She says, quote, "It'll happen over time, but it will start soon. Eventually, all the swords will lie dormant. Apart from yours, I've bound a part of my soul to it. The small kernel of magic that my soul possessed, whatever it was worth, now belongs to that sword. It will help you when you need it." And then she gets cut off. So, like with this, does Morel know something specific is going to happen to Fisher that he'll need this kernel of magic for? Because he cuts her off here, but this feels like an intentional thing to get cut off. Like, I feel like that was definitely there for a reason, her saying it will help you when you need it, but that wasn't the end of her sentence.
Well, and I'd be interested to know what her magic was, because I would think that that's the magic the sword has, but the sword still seems to be dark and shadowy, but I don't know what magic she has. I would think it'd be similar
that's a
to
good point.
Ren's, but
Yeah, and then she's also super confident that the god swords will, like italics, will start failing soon. But is there an event coming that triggers that to start? How does she know that? Was that information relayed from Edina or maybe one of the gods? If like, did that come from Zareth or Bal or Mithin? If she
because
did
it's
talk with them?
accurate. Like, we know that that's true.
Yeah. And they always say, like, every time they talk about it, Kingfisher's always like really defensive of Nimmerel, and he's like, Nimmerel's different though.
Mm-hmm.
So
Maybe
like,
that was another
I was
thing Edina
confused.
told her.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I don't know. I just think that is super interesting. And then if those are things that Edina told her, are those things that she knew before she died? Or are they things that she's somehow still able to see in the afterlife as an oracle? I'm like so confused about that.
If the afterlife truly is like the time is weird, then I feel like anyone could be an oracle out there, because you could just be like, oh
Yeah.
I've seen that.
Good point.
But
Yeah, I don't know. But, like, she put herself in the sword. It says her magic, but did she do the weird soul split thing? Where, like, part of her is in the sword, and so that means she's, like, hanging around until... What? Like, like, because
Yeah.
Kingfisher gave part of his soul to Lorith, so if... Lorith dies, he gets it back. If Kingfisher dies, he's just chilling around Lorith for however long till Lorith does end up dying. So is that how it's working with the sword? Is Morel still around? Is she still able to watch things or be like, is her soul still just kind of hanging out? And then if it's attached to the sword, does that just mean forever? Because unless the sword gets destroyed, I guess.
Right.
And like, if the sword gets taken by somebody else, does that mean she's stuck there with those people instead of with Kingfisher? Or... There's a lot of questions with that.
The only reason I wouldn't think so is because of the way that it's worded. Because she does say, I've bound a part of myself to it, but then elaborates the small kernel of magic that my soul possessed, like past tense possessed, whatever it was worth now belongs to that sword. So it's not like a piece of me is living on within the sword. It's like the magic that I used to have is now
put
just
in there.
yeah.
I like that
But,
better.
yeah, I don't know.
As much as Morel, I'm sure, is great, but thinking that she's just awkwardly around for all these
Right.
interactions that Kingfisher's
there.
probably had, specifically
Third
some of those
wheel him
times with
forever.
Saras.
Yes. Yeah, but then she says, your mother wants you to know how much she loves you. She's with you too. She will always be with you. This part was just so emotional and surprising to read. I just wasn't expecting this at all, for her to like be relaying information directly from Fisher's mom. But then it also makes me wonder, is Adina always with him, like italics always with him, in the same way that Morel is? Like, did she bind part of her soul to Fisher's relic or something like that? Like, is that what she
Yeah,
means?
it could be the relic. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. I have no idea.
Yeah. I was also thinking that it was something literal, like the relic, instead of just not just like a sentiment or something.
There's just so many questions, and I feel like zero answers.
Yup.
Stuff
Can't wait for
to
Brimstone.
stay up late and think about for sure. The very last line of this section, though, was a juicy, juicy, juicy one where Morel says, and she wants me to warn you, she being Kingfisher's mom, she wants me to warn you, she needs you to guard your true name. She says that your life depends on it, ... And then she was gone. I knew Kingfisher wasn't his real name. We have spent weeks debating it and joking about it and talking about it and figuring out what it was. And now I need to know, because honestly, at this point, any name is going to be better than Kingfisher, I feel like. I always get so nervous when I start a book and I learn, the main character's name or the love interest's name, because it kind of defines what you're going to feel about the whole book and series. So I'm a little nervous about what his real name is. But like I said, I feel like anything's going to be better than Kingfisher, as much as I've grown to love the name Kingfisher.
I feel like I've adjusted to it so much now that any other name might be weird.
Yeah, it's gonna be like, watch how it's like
Bill.
Simon, and it's like the sword. And it's like, yeah, Bill, like the horse.
That's
I love
why.
it. And then
Carrie
is like
named his sword that is that he knows. He's like, I remember his true name. I'm just gonna make a joke out of it.
yeah, because he was friends with
my
Kingfisher's dad.
He would.
Oh, that's funny.
Wait,
But-
that's so true.
But it's just like, is that Ren's real name? Is it Lorith's real name? Because they seem like regular names. Kingfisher does not. And then do those guys know Kingfisher's real name?
I would
Like,
assume not.
Who are we keeping it from? Who are
I
we
feel like
hiding
no
this
one
from?
knows except for him and his mom.
Yeah. Watch how like Finran shows up and he's just like, hello, my son, Simon. Whatever your name is.
Dave, good to see you.
Hey there, Pete. Been waiting to chat. It's Paul.
His-
Paul. Ugh.
Watch, his real name's actually
Ow.
Saras.
It's also Saras. It's Hayden. Awkward.
Awkward.
But that's the end of that section.
Yes. Yeah. And we go into the final bonus chapter here, the fox, the boot, the dress. And we pick up some moments before Fisher and Saras's first dinner at the House of Kalish, if you will. He is headed to his mother's room and library when Archer catches up to him, Onyx also in tow. We get a little history here about how servants in many other households are bound to their masters, but the lesser fae in the House of Kalish have never been sworn to serve the family and can come and go as they please. He heads to his parents' closet, being rushed with memories to find a pair of boots, and notices some dresses that don't seem to be his mother's. A voice urges him to step toward them, but he quickly walks away, frustrated. However, he eventually does go back to grab one of the dresses and also let out Onyx, who he accidentally trapped inside. He goes to visit Carrion, who he gives the boots to, which we find out were his father's boots, which I thought was very interesting. And also, this is the moment where we learn that he makes him take a bath in exchange with the boots, with the water sprites. Just then, he hears Saras making her way to the room from the forge. Fisher throws out some shadows to hide himself. As she searches for a bathing chamber, Fisher just casually uses his magic to create an entire bathroom, and once she's finished, it vanishes just like it was never there. As he lays the dress on the bed, he finally takes a look at it, noticing that it is definitely not one of his mother's dresses, nor one that his father would have had made for his mother. Clearly, it is made for Saras specifically. He tries to talk himself into getting her to hate him so that it would be easier to send her back to Zilvarin when the time comes. And that's the end of that little bonus chapter.
Wonderful.
Crazy. I have a quick side note here at the beginning of this chapter. Archer keeps calling Fisher master, and Fisher mildly scolds him for it. And then it says, he gave me a hangdog smile before Archer goes on to apologize. I just have never heard this before, and I had to Google it.
Okay, I also Googled it, but I Googled it because I was afraid of the pig sticker incident because it was about a dog. And I was like,
God,
oh, geez,
I
I'm not going
Oh,
into
he
this
gave him a
again.
hangdog.
I was like, I'm Googling it this time.
I forgot about the pig sticker already. Whew.
I
Wow.
have it. It's a traumatizing moment for me. So good. I just love Archer so much. I'm
Yes.
also so surprised that there's no like I love Onyx notes from you throughout all of this because we had missed Onyx for so long and now he's back, even though it's like
do
we
miss
still don't know
him.
his outcome right now. But at
Yeah.
least he's here right now.
I love him.
I know. But I also love Archer and this whole little moment of him, like you were saying, calling him master and whatever else, and that whole interaction. And he says, he clearly would have breathed on my behalf had he been able, if only so I wouldn't have to trouble myself with such a mundane task. It's just the best, and I love him so much.
He's so cute.
He's so cute.
So John just mentioned the boots being Fisher's dad's boots, but when Fisher says that he like just came to his parents' bedroom to collect something, I totally thought it was going to be his mother's journal. I did not expect the boots that he gave Carrion to be his father's.
Mm-hmm.
That like really threw me off.
Especially because he could have got boots from literally anywhere. Or
Anywhere.
Like, Archer would have
Coulda
gone
made 'em.
to get the boots.
Yeah. Archer would have learned how to make boots specifically to make those boots for
Exactly.
Carrion on one random command. Yeah, absolutely. But then as Fisher leaves his parents' room, he's grumbling between clenched teeth the whole way back. So cheers, everybody.
Lovely.
Refreshing.
There's a lot of these when you're in a male POV.
That is very true. My next note is just that I really love Carrion, and I loved getting this little glimpse into their conversation about the boots. I just thought this was hilarious. But Fisher's like going on about how much he like despises that Carrion is there and whatever. And Carrion says, and yet here you are bearing gifts. I'm used to people falling fast when they meet me, but I think this might actually be a new record.
What's going to be funny is when Carrion becomes king of Velia, like assumingly that will happen one day.
Oh, yeah.
and how all of these people that he's had these interactions with are going to have to bow down to him or like have
Yes.
like that whole power shift.
He's
will
going to
be-
love it. He's going to have
Yeah.
a great time.
It's going to be interesting for sure.
Yes.
But I don't know why Kingfisher is so against his love for Saras right now. I think he's maybe acknowledging it, but he's like, I'll make her mad and then she'll hate me and it will be better for her and blah, blah, blah. But like in this interaction with Carrion, when Carrion meets the water sprites, Kingfisher says in his mind, like, he had the human. He had touched her and kissed her and presumably taken her, and he still felt the need to look at other females. There was something deeply wrong with him. Like, Kingfisher, you're so gone, dude. Like,
So in love.
yeah, there's no coming back. Stop fighting it already. And it's just so early in the book. But I guess he knew about Saras the whole entire time with his mom's journal and all this stuff, and that's just something we didn't know in this moment. So I don't know, it's just interesting. But when the sprite finally asks if she should go get her sisters, Carrion's like, there isn't a single thing in the world or the next. I want more. And it said his words were muffled as if his tongue were suddenly too big for his mouth. Carrion, stop.
Carrion. Oh my gosh.
So funny.
Real quick about the boots, because we were just talking. I was just talking about that. I wasn't really connecting, I guess, because we like just finally read the most recent chapter. That Fisher knew that his father was sent to Zilvarin specifically to like hide the Dianthus heir. So I guess we don't know yet if Fisher knew the whole time that that's who Carrion was, right? Do we know that? Was he shocked at the end?
He definitely acted shocked. Like him and Lorith both were like, said at the same time, like, oh my God, or whatever. Like,
Yeah. But it is kind of cute that, like, he got Finron's boots for Carrion, even if he didn't
That's
know.
true.
But, like, that is kind of cute. Like, if they knew each other. Anyway.
full circle.
Full circle. So cute. Crazy, absolutely nuts display of magic, though, for Fisher to just fabricate an entire bathroom for Saras on a whim, including, like, the water for the bath and everything. That's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah. I had a note to add to this. So my first time reading through, I wrote that I was like, I had to have been so enamored by the bonus content because I practically skimmed over this the first time when he's talking about his magic. And it says, the wave of magic that I inherited from my father, the illusion that existed deeper within the well of my power. I had to reach for it and wasn't always there when I tried to grasp for it. And then it says the shadows came from his mother. And my note to kind of add to that was, we know that Adina was also an oracle, so I'm wondering if she was a witch. And what if we get like a whole witch storyline out of this series too? That would be super interesting. Because, and also like, if you happen to follow Callie Hart, she gave a little, I guess, teaser of Brimstone where she's like flipping through and she shows part of the map. And you can see the Balkidder clan land on part of the map. So I'm like, I
cool.
wonder if we're getting more, more witch content, I guess. Which would make sense because of Ishbal too, since she's around.
Well, I was going to say, I thought that was already on the ebook map, but now I don't know if the ebook map is updated because of the whole bonus chapter situation.
I don't think
Like maybe the
so.
one in the
Maybe
ebook
it
is new.
is.
And
But,
now
like,
I
why
want
would
to look
that
at
be
the
a
print
part
copy
of?
and see.
Why would that be a part of what she showed
in
for the
Quicksilver.
map
Yeah,
if it
I
was
agree.
in the Quicksilver book?
She also, I was looking through some of her videos today for something else, and she had shared that Brimstone's going to be dual POV. Assumedly, that means Saras
nice.
and Kingfisher, but it could be somebody else.
Yeah, that would be
Oh,
interesting.
Interesting.
But to add to that, Lauren, your next note is very interesting. So it
Okay.
should be.
Yeah, so on the website, when I was reading along, because I'm listening to the audio and reading
Yep,
along
yep.
on the website says, the magic that I inherited from my father, being the illusions, and
Yep.
the shadows had come from my mother. But the audiobook, which is the most recent words that have come from Callie, the most recent update
That
says,
just came out like last week.
yeah, that just came out like last week, says the magic I inherited from my mother, being the illusions, and the shadows had come from my father. So I listened to this like 4
Jeez,
times.
man.
Like I caught it the first time. I was like, hold on. That was me. That was not the audiobook. Wait a second.
Go
and then
back, reread.
Reread.
I slowed it down because again, I listened to it pretty quick. And so I slowed it down to really make sure I got it. And I am confident in saying that the difference here with the mother and the father. So I don't obviously know which one Callie intended as canon.
That's stressful.
It makes me think it would be the most recent one, being that the mother is illusions and the father is the shadows. But does that super change the story, knowing like one way or the other?
I feel like it has to, right?
I feel
this
like it does
literally
too.
stresses me out. It stresses me out.
Could I ask how often that happens? As someone,
Not.
okay.
It doesn't.
Rescinded.
I'll back off. I'll back off. No, go for it.
No, well, I'm only curious because if we were to go back to the earlier theory I had with the Quicksilver, wouldn't it be crazy with these minor differences between the audiobook and the physical book if they were meant to be like 2 alternate paths that they're taking and like, oh, in one world, yeah, he got his powers from mom or dad. In one world, they call him handsome. In one world, they call him fierce heart. And like at the very end, it all just comes down to like, oh, which version did you read?
Oh, well,
But
that
you know
would,
what's-
I mean,
But do you know what's fun about like making a world like that? Even if it was on accident, she could just say that.
I know,
She's
you
like,
could just
"Oh,
say
yeah,
it like,
that's what
it
I
was
meant.
a plan the whole time.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because, yeah, maybe they're just minor differences now, but we'll get further on and the audiobook will say something wildly different than what the physical or ebook says.
yeah, I mean, it would have to change the whole story.
I
would be
agree.
kinda
Well,
funny.
especially if Finron's still alive. If he comes back and he has illusion magic, or if he comes back and he does also have shadow magic. We keep talking about
Oh.
the mom and like how that attaches to
Yeah.
the sword or other things or who knows what. But if Finron comes back, that would be a big one there.
I mean, when Finron comes back.
Exactly.
That's totally happening.
Also, we see kind of this illusion magic happen other times. He says that Kalish itself is magicked, but like when he takes her into the forge for the first time and they're just in a regular hallway
yeah.
and then all of a sudden they're at the forge and this door, like, is that this illusion magic too? And that he's just like, and now here's a forge, like, or is that actually the magic of the castle? And I mean, obviously if one of his parents did have that magic, that could absolutely be, but I don't know.
Interesting. Give me 1 second. I'm going to grab the print copy of the book because I do think it's different. I think the map is different in this like updated one for the special edition.
Oh no, it's definitely, it's the same map, but the like lines are more defined.
No, there's more on it because in the Balkidder clan lands, that is technically on the print map, but this one has a castle called Nevercross on it.
Lauren, you forgot the Balcutter Clanlands. Come on.
It's on
there's
here,
a-
but like if you look at this
No,
one, the lines are very like
There's a
I
lot
don't
more
know,
detail.
shadowy,
Yeah. Love
and then
myself
when you're
a
looking at
defined
this
line.
one, yeah, it's more defined, like the edges of the things.
Yeah.
There's
Can you
way
see, John?
more
Do you
detail.
need your readers?
This is cool.
You are the oldest of us. It's okay. There you go. Thank you, John.
And in
You're pulling a
Terran
Jonathan Bailey with those glasses. The ladies will swoon. You're muted.
Classic.
Damn it.
In Terran Ross Island, there's a place called Graves Point. That's not on the original map. There's like a couple extra locations.
Interesting.
Oh my god.
Okay, that was so
Scared.
loud.
Write this down. Write this down.
I suck.
I think those are the only two differences.
Okay, so I just loved Onyx and all of this. On top of everything else that was great and wonderful about these chapters, but Onyx
My
is so
baby.
freaking cute and following around with Kingfisher and stuff. And so he's in their room and Saras tries to come in, and so he like conjures all these shadows and all the things, and he says, and the cursed fox followed with me. I glowered down at it, daring it to make a sound. Then it was just weaved between my legs and sat itself down on top of my right boot, looking pleased as punch.
I love that
cute.
there was another description of him where it said his tongue was just like lolling out of his mouth.
Yeah.
Like he's just
Well, even the interaction with Archer, where Archer was like, are we bringing any more side creatures in? Forest creatures or whatever it was. So good.
Very, very cute. Oh, and then the dress. Fisher's looking at the dress, and it says, I had no idea where it had come from or how long it had been sitting there in that dressing chamber amongst my mother's things, but this had been made for Saras Fane. This was so cute, and it's just giving Akamath, and I loved every second of it. I'm also dying to know more about Adina, especially with this whole like it's the dresses, it's the conversation with Morel, and like the journal. I want to read the journal. I'm just like dying for more information.
Yep.
Ugh, this
think
was
it's-
cool.
Also crazy here, like a lot of times when you hear oracles, it's very like, oh, here's a vague outlook onto your future or whatever. Like she had Saras's measurements. Like when she making the gesture
That
at
is a good
36,
point.
24, 36, this big high.
Damn!
But like just thinking about her explaining that to someone and just be like, no, trust me, when she shows up, this is gonna be the fit.
Well,
Girl's got
even, like,
curves.
the style she would like, because he was even like, the style is not my mother's. You know, this is clearly
Yeah.
made
Yeah.
for Saras.
Yeah.
So.
Well, she had,
To
like,
foresee the
hundreds
future
of-
fashions. Be like,
Yeah,
trust me,
exactly.
this is gonna be in. This is gonna be great. I guess.
Meanwhile, Saras is like, I hate dresses. I'm not wearing this.
Yep. Ugh. And then we come to the very last line of this bonus chapter where it says, and when the time came, I could send Saras Fane back to her realm. I didn't have any other choice because she would never truly be safe here with me. ...
Wompa womp.
Kingfisher.
Wompity wompity.
Stop it. You're in love.
Stop it. Well, we have kind of a bit of a surprise here. So just a few hours ago, as we were getting ready to record this episode, we found out that there is a new bonus chapter for Quicksilver called The Maze. in this present moment, this chapter is not on Callie Hart's website. It can only be found at the very end of the Quicksilver ebook on Kindle Unlimited. If you've already downloaded or purchased an older version of the ebook, you may need to re-download it to see this bonus chapter. But the four of us just read it here before we sat down for the podcast, so we're going to talk about it here. So if you haven't read this bonus chapter yet, The Maze, go do that, come back. Or stay if you're cool with spoilers, I guess. I don't know. You do you, baby.
Yay! So the new chapter is called The Maze, and I randomly found this online. I think it's also going to be in the new Quicksilver version that comes out with the new cover. That's like coming out in August, but I was just so excited to get my hands on more information. Just anything else. I'm taking all the scraps. Like anything she's willing to put out, I will gladly accept all of it.
Do you want me to do, I didn't write one, but do you want me to do a small recap?
Oh, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, especially for the people who don't have it.
Okay. Recap on the fly.
Did you take notes that you could like scroll through kind of? And...
My notes, well, other than my notes that are in here.
Oh.
All right. Scene one.
It's not...
We open.
Yeah, I got it. It's
It
short
doesn't-
enough.
It
It's short
doesn't
enough.
have to be super detailed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
just hit the main points.
Yeah, so it starts out, Fisher is counting coins in the middle of the, amphitheater and the maze, and clearly not finding the one. Oh, very nice, Kyle. Kyle just showed a coin. Beautiful. He is flipping coins, going through trying to find the one that, Malcolm caught. Did it work? I don't think it worked, Kyle.
I heard it land.
Kyle flipped a coin. It didn't work. Taladeus is there as well. We learn obviously that Taladeus visits him a lot. He gives him some info about the outside world, about kind of what's going on. Really, that's it for that, I guess. Taladeus leaves after a little while, and when he leaves, Fisher gets this nauseating feeling in his stomach. The coins start to rattle. There's almost like an earthquake type feeling going on, and the ground basically breaks, creates a huge crack in the ground. Taladeus is still kind of close by, so he comes back and is like what the heck is going on? Fisher, still feeling nauseous, kind of looks over the edge and sees the Quicksilver pool clearly activated, and he looks down. He goes and grabs Nimarel. Taladeus is like, "What are you doing?" Fisher's like, "What do you mean, what am I doing? I'm getting out of here. Let's dive right in." You know what I'm saying? I mean, classic BP&F move. And that's kind of what happens. And in an interesting exchange right before he does dive in, there's a kind of a respectable nod here between Taladeus and Fisher. Again, getting an idea here that they've known each other for a little while, and they kind of share a sentiment toward Malcolm specifically, and just they're being trapped. So we get a little bit of that. And then, Fisher dives in the pool, and we go through basically what we've read already with him coming out to Saras, being gutted, and Heron, dying, the Quicksilver kind of taking over him, and going through that whole scene in Kingfisher's point of view. And he wants to go and kill Madra here, but he feels a tug, and that tug is Saras's life force, basically. He can almost sense that she's dying. So it says almost subconsciously he is walking back already before he's made up his mind to do it, and snatches her up and takes her into the Quicksilver pool and takes her to the Winter Palace.
I was so excited for this chapter, specifically when we saw Taladeus's name, because when we meet him in Quicksilver, I was so skeptical because he's working for Malcolm, and I thought he was evil, and then all of a sudden he's with them at the other palace when Saras wakes up and all the things. So I was just really excited to know even just a tiny little bit more about Taladeus, and I've decided I like him.
Yeah.
So shout out Taladeus.
Same.
I am not a fan though of hearing about Morthil again and anything to do with that spider. That little bit, I was like, oh, dang it. I thought I moved on.
During this first scene, like John said, we enter in and Fisher's counting coins, and it even goes sequentially. He's at 2,583 or something, and he goes a few more. He gets distracted and comes back, skips a number, and Taladeus corrects his counting. And Fisher just starts over. He's like, oh yeah, you're right, I should just start over then. And I just wanted to say that both Taladeus correcting Fisher's counting that far in and Fisher starting over out of pettiness are equally relatable to me. I would do both of those things.
The only SpongeBob reference I know is one because Kyle says it all the time. And every time that Kingfisher flipped a little coin, it said, shing, shing. And Kyle always puts his glasses on and goes, shing, sparkle, sparkle. And so every time it did that with the little coin, that's what I thought the whole time. It's the only reference I will know, maybe on my own. And it's not even from watching the show. It's from Kyle. So
I appreciate that.
But Taladeus does really help out Kingfisher, in their conversations and all of the things. And we learn that Tal hated his leash that his master had fastened around his neck as much as any caged animal did. And so I think that was the moment that I was like, okay, I officially like this guy. We know he is not Team Malcolm. He's clearly helping Kingfisher out in any way that he can around the oaths and bonds that he's taken, or maybe even that he's been, what's the word? When you get bitten by a vampire and then you're their friend forever.
Enthralled.
Yeah, that he's been enthralled, and as much as that he can get around those things, even by making him bleed with just the little pin and all of those kinds of things instead of actually hurting him. So I officially like Taladeus, and I am excited to see more of him in Brimstone. That's all
Yeah,
I'm
me
here to say.
too. I also really loved learning about how pushing the boundaries of a blood oath can feel different for different people, and how Taladeus feels like fire. That was just kind of a cool world building moment. But I also I love seeing how he skirted around those boundaries, like you said, to help Fisher, and he could bring him wine, and there were little things that he could do just to help even keep him occupied, or
keep his mind
make
sharp.
his critical thinking skills and stuff like that. So I really like him now too.
It was cool to see the blood oaths, but to go back a couple episodes, or maybe the last episode, with I think John brought it up, it makes wild even magic even crazier. It makes no sense still. What is the decider of how it does that for some people?
Yeah,
it was neat to learn.
I thought at first the fire, because he was a vampire, and that was something some
maybe.
vampires need, but if it is just decapitation like we talked about earlier, maybe not. But
I don't know. I have a very unserious note when they were talking about the wicker wood, because there are a lot of times where there are multiple names for things. In Fisher's POV, it says, certainly it was unwise to tread the paths of the morning wood in groups larger than 3 or 4. Morning is spelled MOURNING. Yes, but when I read it, I just wrote, LOL, morning wood.
oh my God, Kyle.
You do not want more than 3 or 4 in that situation.
Oh my gosh.
It is unwise. Okay, but also on the Wickerwood, for real, the tortured spirits would notice large groups, and they would climb into the bodies of the living any chance they got if it meant escaping their punishment. Belicon wouldn't risk sacrificing his troops to possession unless he absolutely had to. Did we talk about possession at some point? Am I making this up?
I know when they walked to the front lines and they had to get so far away from Belicon before he could do his shadow gate, or Belicon would know. They passed by some wood that had moaning and whatever type.
Yeah, that was the wicker wood.
Ghosts.
That was the Wickerwood. Yeah.
But I don't remember any part of it potentially possessing someone.
Well, no, and I thought we were talking about, maybe it was with Heron or somebody. I thought we had a conversation about somebody potentially being possessed, just when we were speculating. So this was it was interesting to learn that is something that can happen, that these spirits in the wood can just climb into the bodies of the living and possess them. That is really freaky. So I just had to call that out. I also really need to know more about the witches because Talladega says, I wonder what Belicon might want from the witches. The Balkidder clan hates everybody. It's true, but they hate Belicon the most. And that's when he starts to get like cut off by the blood oath. So I'm just wondering like what Belicon did to the witches to make them hate him so much. And is that the same reason he's looking for them now? Like, is that why Talladega was getting cut off here?
Maybe with John's theory that it's Fisher's mom and she's the witch
Yeah.
that
Ooh.
whenever all of that all went down. So now they extra hate Belicon because it took away their oracle and whatever.
Am I just like remembering something different? I thought there was something. Oh, it's like right there. I thought we learned that kind of what happened with like Belicon and the witches.
I remember, I don't know if it was Belicon who mentioned it or if it was Malcolm. I thought one of them said that Edina had used like a witch spell of some kind on the relic or on like the gorget to keep it on
I don't think that
around
was
his
it.
throat or something like that.
Or did we get something from Lorith about that? Or was it Ishabal when she was talking about, maybe that's what I'm thinking of, about how they helped form for the curse or whatever, the cure?
Oh,
That might be what I'm thinking of. When Ishabal is talking about like the Balkidder clan was instrumental in like helping get the cure for the blood curse or for the Fey curse or whatever.
that could be. I found the excerpt that I was talking about, I think, when Fisher was telling Saras about how he sees things and he hears them and it's getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
And that it says he hooked his pendant around his finger, closing his hand around it. This won't help for much longer. And Saras offers to make him a new one. And he says, this isn't just a relic, Saras. It's warded with spell work, too. My mother went to the witches and had it, along with a number of other items made for me before she died.
Yeah.
Things she knew I'd need.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought we got a little more information somewhere.
Yeah,
Nope,
I don't know, though. You might be right, though, about that when Lorith is talking about like right before they go get Ishabal.
I mean, possibly. I
Anyway,
don't remember what
sorry.
it is. Yeah. Anyway.
I like that theory, though. That's fun.
A lot of the conversation between Tal and Kingfisher was just really interesting about their whole time together. And I think he even says that he knew him just as long as he's known Renfis or just like right under that. So they've known each other for forever and all the things. And they have a ton of history. And one of the little tidbits that we get is someone named Zovina, and Tal says that he's going to go see her. And Kingfisher's POV, it says, Zovina was the reason why Tal found himself amongst the ranks of the Black Palace's high blood population in the first place. In a roundabout way, she was the reason things were always so tense between me and Tal, too. There were other reasons, of course, too many to count, really, but Zovina was the prime amongst them. Someone give me the tea here, please, because something went down. I need to know.
Yes. I wrote, same, Lauren, another jaded lover, a lover's quarrel, perchance.
Oh,
Yeah,
I love
definitely. And I also really like the mention of the Black Palace's high blood. Like, is that the one that's
Yeah.
across the Darn? That's the Black Palace? Or is that
I was assuming this was
wherever
Amatreus.
Malcolm's? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
but,
that's where
I mean, yeah.
that's
So
where Saras is right now. She's in the Black Palace.
Yeah. I
Cool.
think so, yeah. Wasn't there another name for it?
Just Amentreus is the only thing I could think of.
Yeah. I guess so maybe I'm thinking of the Black Palace.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe
But
they
she's-
called it something else when they like saw the castle or something, but
But if Zovina
fortress.
is also or somehow connected to them, that it would
Mm-hmm.
make Tal connected to them. It makes me think that we will meet her in Brimstone.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
maybe there's
Yeah.
some drama or
Totally.
something that goes on
True.
there.
totally.
I-
totally.
Really, my only assumption from this sentence was that Zovina maybe turned Tal if she's responsible for him being amongst the ranks of the high blood or something.
Yeah.
I would think brought to Malcolm because he seems changed by Malcolm. Like
Oh, I
enthralled
see.
or
Oh, that's
something.
true.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But,
True. Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting.
or he went to Malcolm to save Zovina, or save, or try to somehow got twisted into all of the things. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
that
know.
is interesting.
just need to know.
Yeah.
I love all the little tidbits of their past, and I know that Kingfisher's been around for forever, but it's like we found about 2 other potential love interests in all of this, and all I get is just like one sentence about it. Ugh, I need
Yup.
more.
Hot
need.
piping cup.
Yes, please.
My next note here is when it says, this is right after Taladeus like gets Fisher's blood or whatever, and he like pays the price like to the catacombs
Maze.
or the
Yeah.
maze or whatever. And right before he leaves, it says his hand landed on my shoulder for a moment. And I love their whole dynamic that we learn about here, that it sounds like they almost became friends in a weird sort of way, like while Fisher was down there. Possibly maybe they were friends in some way before everything kind of went down. Like you said, Lauren, they kind of have known each other for a while, we learn in this little bonus chapter too. So I just kind of loved that dynamic that we get.
Well, and even just about like how Taladeus used to have to torture him, and Kingfisher used to fight it, but then that would just hurt Taladeus, so he just stopped doing it because he didn't want to hurt him, and he just started accepting it how it was, and then eventually Malcolm got bored. Like that whole, like, yeah, we just learn a ton about their whole friendship, I guess, is the way, which makes the end of it seem so much more sense. Like the end of Quicksilver and Taladeus just showing up, and the fact that Kingfisher would just trust Saras alone in a room with him when she first wakes up. Like all of that seems to make a lot more sense now that I've read this. And so I just really appreciate this bonus chapter, at least for that. There's a lot from all of these chapters that I love knowing and learning, but that one specifically was a big, like, who the heck is this guy? And now I really appreciate knowing that about him. So yeah, so he like walks out basically of the maze that he's in, and all of a sudden he sees that like the coins are shaking, Kingfisher does, and like something's happening, and it says, I was being drawn across the courtyard, beckoned by something, almost dragged. Does this mean he was like actually dragged like Saras was? Like that the gods were calling him in? Because Saras was like snatched and taken across the whole maze into the,
True. Yeah, I mean,
into
based
the
on Kyle's
Quicksilver.
measurements, she's definitely snatched.
Hey.
I just took the classic 1980s Vogue measurements.
Okay. You just picked some numbers.
No, it's from that song, Baby Got Back, actually. Anyway, we don't have to talk about that. I read it as more of like a pull to each other, because she was pulled towards her end as well, like in the first book. And he was pulled on like because of the bond and all that jazz.
Interesting. See, I want to go read the first part again, because I guess I thought it was towards the sword, but I guess that would make sense
So
that
did
it would
he.
be towards each other.
Which sword?
Interesting. Exactly.
My dagger.
And then when the Quicksilver actually opens, a bunch of the coins fall into the Quicksilver. And I was like, was there coins when he came out the other side, or where did those coins go? I don't know that matters in the grand scheme of the world, but it was something I wondered.
Thoroughfare.
Yeah, I guess.
That's kinda
And
funny.
then Tal's jaw works. So take a
nice.
drink.
Good for him.
I'm glad it works.
It works. Work it.
Work that gel.
Do it, lady.
And then when he finally makes it, Kingfisher finally makes it into Silverin, he like sees that he's free basically, and says, and I could have wept just from like his final like having freedom. And just seeing the entire scene from a different perspective changes literally everything I have thought
Yes.
about the entire
Yeah.
book. Not just like that moment, but like everything that Saras had seen, like that he was like this horrible person and he was all this cranky whatever, and all the things he were saying, but really he was kind of saying that to himself, or that he was like almost in tears and like of relief, and she just had, you know, her guards super up from the whole interaction with Heron. So yeah, just seeing the whole thing is just crazy. Just yeah, that's just insane.
Yeah.
It's good.
Ugh.
And then he says, and Solus, a quiet voice nudged in the back of my head, the blade. How could she be holding the blade? And so he's noticing the sword and says, a quiet voice nudged in the back of my head. Who's the quiet voice? Is that the gods? Is that the sword itself? Is that Quicksilver? Because it's in his head.
I think it's just him. Like,
Is it
the
like just the
quiet
mating
little-
bond?
You know how
I could
sometimes you
s-
think things in the back of your mind, and he's just like, there's a lot going on, but also
Yeah.
how's she touching the sword?
I know, but I read
could
another
in this
book that said
circumstance.
nudged a lot of times when it was referencing something that seemed like not a big deal, but it turned out to be a really big deal.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I mean, it could also be one of those things, like we said earlier, like, oh, people are saying, like, oh, nudged now. Is that a big thing? Should we be worried about that? And then the author sees everybody worrying about it and then is like, yeah, it's going to totally be a big thing. Sure. And
I don't know.
later.
This specific instance, I could see it just being like his own. It's just his own consciousness, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what else it would be, I guess. Because it seems more like his own internal thought.
I know, but there's other times he has internal thoughts, and he would just say,
Yeah.
and Solus, the blade? How could she be holding the blade? And it wouldn't say, a quiet voice nudged in the back of my head. Like, that just seems very pointed that it was something else.
I feel like as a guy with voices in his head, he would be specific and say which voice it is if it was a voice.
I don't know.
But that's
I don't
just
know.
like my opinion, man.
I kind of thought it was his mom's voice, honestly.
Oh.
Like,
But I
just
feel like
kind
as an
of like,
oracle, she would know she could hold the blade. She seems to know everything else, but...
But maybe encouraging him to question why. I think that's what. Yeah.
But when he comes out, he recognizes Saras from his mother's journals, and he kind of goes through this explanation, like in his point of view, he knows who she is and that she's who he's supposed to end up with, but she's basically dying, practically dead already. And this is when he says unfortunate as he's looking at her. And in Saras's point of view, this is obviously taking like way different, because it looks like he's saying this like about her as a human almost. But this is he's like responding to that thought of like, it's unfortunate that you're the person who I'm supposed to end up with, but you're basically dying.
Yeah.
Right. Everything about this whole interaction
that's
just
great.
changes everything for me.
It's crazy. Also, real quick, I just on the previous point about the voice nudging in the back of his head, could it be just like because we just learned all this stuff about his interactions with Tal and how Tal was trying to ask him leading questions like that to like keep his critical thinking sharp, because it sounds worded, it's like worded similarly to how Taladeus was sort of asking him questions to make him think a little bit more about what was going on, and he had just been like isolated for so long. But that could be kind of cute if it was just
Like him trying to force himself to think critically and try to figure out the situation. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he also says that about the sword, my father had been sent to Silvarin. He had been sent to Silvarin to hide the Dianthus heir amongst the humans. Interesting. Very interesting here, because we were under the impression that he was banished there with Belicon, and then I thought maybe he like took the heir and Belicon had no idea in a like very sneaky, I see where this is going, Finron did. And so he like took the baby to, you know, hopefully protect whatever was happening for his son and the world that is the Fae realm or whatever. But apparently it was the plan all along for him to take the Dianthus heir, at least so much that Kingfisher knew about it, even if not a lot of people did.
I'm having 3 different thoughts about this. Let me see if I can get my ADHD together to relay all of them to you. Okay, so first of all, I think it was mentioned once that Finron was sent there on a mission, but it was almost like a suicide mission. Like they just assumed he was never going to come back, right?
So I thought from that and from Madra's conversation at the end of the book, he was the one sent to kill her.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Yeah.
So that was like his mission.
She's also like super paranoid about the Fae, though, it seems like. So I don't know if she just assumed whenever he showed up that he was there to kill her.
Yeah. Because all she says is like, because she's talking to Belicon, she's like, "Oh yeah, you sent that monster to come assassinate me or kill me or something." So she doesn't
If she's talking about Finron there.
No, yeah, I know. That's my point, because she doesn't name him
Great
specifically.
point. Yeah. Great point. Okay, so
But
that was
go
my
ahead.
first thought about that. My second thought about this is, would Kingfisher have somehow known that Carrion was the Dianthus heir when he found him? Like, we know Carrion would have been able to recognize that Fisher was Fae, but would Fisher have been able to identify Carrion somehow, even though he looked human? But that leads me to this whole discrepancy with the magic Because if Finron was sent there to hide the heir, I would think that his father would have had the illusion magic and not the shadow magic.
Good point.
Yeah, unless they can all glamour. But that would be, if that's not the case, then that would definitely be like an illusion type magic. So
Well, and I have this in my long list of questions for our Q&A episode next week, but why did Carrion's illusion stop? Was it just because he was bitten? Did he have control over it? Is Finron somehow still in control and turned it off? Like, would Finron have to be alive in order to keep that going? Like, there's so much in there, like, why in that moment? Because he got bit, and they have that whole, obviously Saras is kind of like in and out, so we don't know if he immediately changed, but we don't really see his change until she comes to, however many days later.
I wonder if it's like a stipulation of him like revealing himself as the heir, and then like once he does that, it's he kind of like the glamour is no longer in effect.
I thought maybe if he got bit,
but that would also make sense.
Yeah,
because that would almost be like a fulfilling destiny type of thing.
Yeah,
true.
Or fulfilling a contract.
Yeah,
An oath, maybe.
Yeah, oath. That's the better word for what I was looking for. What was I going to say? Oh, I was going to say that if he was, I mean, obviously he's saying he's sent to hide the Dianthus heir. A great cover for that would be you're banished. Because everyone else in the land would think, oh, that guy was banished. And that's it. End of story. He was banished for whatever reason. They have no idea to research further into that, where he went, who he went with. Another cover for that would be you're sent on a suicide mission. So maybe some people who are a little higher up would just be like, he was sent on a suicide mission, and that, who knows what happened to him. So misinformation is better than no information in that case.
Yeah.
And a cover for
That's
that
true.
would be, I'm here to kill you, Madra.
Yeah,
Nothing
exactly.
else.
Yeah. Nothing else.
Because Carrion even says that somebody, like a servant, found him in the Quicksilver pool. So, he didn't, take him somewhere far to protect him somewhere.
So that's what I was saying. Like, all three are true. He could have A, been sent to kill Madra, B, been sent to hide the Dianthus heir, and
Or said.
C, banished. Like, you can't come back, or it's going to ruin the cover of this whole story. Like, if you come back, then people are going to be wondering, like, wasn't he banished? Wasn't he on some sort of suicide mission and disappeared?
So it makes me also wonder if he did do the illusion magic, which is the first option, right? Where the dad had illusion magic and mom had shadows.
yeah.
And that's the one that's on the website, I think.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, though, if he did do the illusion, would he know that it's now gone and now knows it's safe for me to come out of hiding or something because Carrion's taken off of his illusion and now that's why he's going to show up all of a sudden?
Maybe.
Do you think if he was trying to hide Carrion well and he did illusion magic and all that he was also like, as well as I, that Faye can smell who you will be. So you need to get a lot of other people's smells on you and roll around in the dirt, have a lot of
Carrion's
sex.
like, okay.
Darn.
Say less.
But seriously, because he was known for just getting around and having a lot of people over. He was very involved in a lot of dirty business. So I feel like that would be a good reason for him to sort of cover up his smell with a lot of other folks.
I also
That's
wondered
very
about the
true.
smell since Kingfisher is able to smell Saras on him after however many months of that. But obviously it's probably been years and years and years and years between Finron and Carrion being together. So even if it wasn't for all the people, that smell is probably gone regardless of
The smell
just
of
showers or
palace.
anything else. Yeah, and whatever else. But I do think that Carrion would know that he's at Finron's home and Kalish and that he's wearing Finron's boots and those kinds of things. I think that because his smell would be a lot more evident there and Carrion would know that if in his human form he still had all those senses or whatever.
I guess I'm assuming that Carrion and Finron knew each other, but we don't really know that, right?
Yeah.
Was Carrion literally
Carrion's
a baby?
I know he was really young, but I don't know
Depends on how long
young.
Finneran stuck around for the whole
yeah,
hiding
that's-
process.
Right.
True.
That's the other piece. Is Finron one of these people that we have that's been mentioned before that just he was also just blending in Zilvar and kept an eye on him or something?
But I wonder if the Swift women know this information. And if we go back to Lavarin and meet these women that have literally passed carrion down
like
through the
Gracia and-
generations. Yeah. And maybe they know something about Finran or have like a letter like, oh, now that you know, we've been holding this whole time, you
He's got
know,
his
that
own
kind of a
secret
thing.
society.
Maybe they have a journal or something that he'll
Yeah.
learn all this info from. But he's definitely coming back.
Yeah, he's totally coming back.
100%. So when Kingfisher is talking to Heron has the Quicksilver all over him. He says, I can't pull it out of you. Your fate's sealed, Captain. You deserved effing worse. And it's like it snaked up his side of his face and it rolled into his ears, a thin trail of metal seeking and finding a way in. I guess I don't remember this happening. Like the second time we meet Heron, that he had Quicksilver. Like, did he have that when he was at Gilthry? And I just am forgetting that.
He was
I think his
obviously
eyes-
super messed up.
Well,
I think his
yeah.
eyes were completely silver.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right.
I guess I was thinking he was just under Madras control, but yeah, that makes sense if it was the Quicksilver.
I mean, it could have been that too.
Well, I think you and I speculated a lot about Madras control and how that all works, but I think
Yeah.
the whole time it was probably just the Quicksilver.
Yeah.
Well, but he didn't. I mean, he wouldn't have had that in him prior to that fight. Like it was saying that his eyes were glassy and stuff as he was obeying commands before that.
Before it. Mm-hmm. But that's not how it looks when somebody's oath bound. Like we haven't seen that in Taladeus. We haven't seen that in Kingfisher, that their eyes go glassy when they're doing something or whatever. So
Yeah.
I still don't really know what that is with Heron.
That's true.
Well, we've talked about him being enthralled.
Yeah.
That's true. We haven't really seen
Yeah.
that. Unless that still was happening to Taladeus when he's supposed to like draw blood or whatever.
Yeah.
We don't see him go all glassy eyed and weird, but
Yeah. I mean, it
Oh,
could
yeah.
be that Madra has given much more stricter commands to him and like even to the point where he was like, she won't let me die, that sort of thing.
I did find this part from chapter 39 when she sees Heron again. It says, the captain of Madra's guard, Heron, stood inches from Laura's back. His eyes were orbs of scuffed metal, pure quicksilver, gleaming inside the sockets of his gaunt skull.
Ugh.
And he looked like real rough.
Yeah, I think he was probably like pretty much undead at that point.
Yeah.
when Madras still wasn't letting him go and still like cried whenever he did go.
Yeah.
All right, lady.
Yeah. Crazy.
Then he, being Kingfisher, starts like, okay, well, now I'm here. I'm going to kill Madra. Like, this is it. I can finally do the things. And starts to walk away. And then it says, but a gentle pulse, as light and delicate as the Oshalith's wings, fluttered inside my chest. OMG, this is where he gets the name. Then calls her Osha.
so
and all the
immediate.
things. That's so cute. It's so freaking cute.
It's so cute, but it's also so sad because he talks about how the Oshalith like lives and dies in one day, and he like just finally found her and thinks that she's about to die, like in the same moment. But then, yeah, and then it says, no, it hadn't been the sword calling to me; it had been the girl, and she was dying. And I was like, oh my god. Oh my nose, that's
So precious. though.
melting.
Like
I
knowing
know.
how it like turns out, it's freaking adorable.
I know
At the time, I'm sure it was horrifying, but yeah,
so cute.
I just love it. And then he goes back to her. He like turns around. His body basically does it before his conscience even catches up to it. And as he walks, it says, "I clenched my teeth until my jaw cracked."
Oh,
So drank.
Chug.
I don't know, it sounds painful. Don't crack your jaw.
Lockjaw.
And this is another moment here where he's like kind of looking down at her. Obviously, she's in super bad shape. He says, pathetic, absolutely. And he kind of like just cuts himself off here. But this is another perspective shift, just like my previous note. We think he's saying this about her, you know, from her point of view because she's human, but he's saying this about himself because he's going to save her by taking her, as he describes, to the last place that he wants to be. He's got to take her to the Winter Palace. He's basically just
Yes.
exchanging the prison of the maze for another prison because he knows what's going to happen when he gets there. So,
I love him so much.
what a man.
Well,
What a man.
This also made me think of John a few weeks ago getting all fired up over seeing people say that they didn't like Quicksilver because they didn't like the way that Kingfisher talked to Saras, like in the
Yeah.
beginning. And he was like so fired up about it. And then this also just completely changes that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I love that it will be at the end of the book for any new readers, and hopefully people go back to it and stuff. But that this will be an immediate like, oh no, this is it. Like they don't even have to like look it up. It'll just be part of the book, and everyone will be on this page.
My next note was him saying that she drew in a reedy breath, and the sensation in her chest returned. And I was like, hey, that's our breath, Lauren. She drew in our breath. That's ours. We did it.
I gave her life.
It's not often you see our name in fiction. That's not even our name. It's an actual word, but I just thought
It's also our name.
Yeah.
it
So
is also
shout
our
out to
name.
us.
Yeah.
Shout out to you.
Normally, I just get sort of the weird characters in books, like the sexy chauffeur Kyle or the dog in Despicable Me. So it's good to.
True. I'm always like the side character that nobody cares about. Just Lauren.
I don't know
Over
many
there.
Laurens. She was in the Power Rangers, Lauren Sheba.
I don't know that one.
I remember her.
Always die.
Connors do always die.
I don't know.
Die
I
all
mean,
the time in fantasy books.
fantasy
I assume
books,
John's
okay.
always die too, just because it's a regular name.
It's-
But
There's a lot of good Connors and Johns. Connor McLeod from the Highlander films. John Connor, that's both of you from the Terminator series.
Yeah.
Jon Snow. John Arbuckle, John from Garfield. Come on.
all right.
All right, anyway. My last note for this whole section was...
The last
you better-
note.
Yeah, the last note. He says, you better pull through this, O'Shaleth. For better or for worse, I get the feeling you're about to turn everything upside down. And my note was just turns to the camera and winks. Because it seemed to be like the end of one of those movies where something crazy happens at the credits and they're like, looks like we got another crazy night ahead of us, boys. Wink! You're going to turn everything upside down.
Well, and she doesn't even hear this line.
I know.
No.
This is like a brand new line in this moment.
Yeah.
And it's the first time he calls her that out loud.
Yep.
So good.
Cute.
Okay, well, that takes us to the cry counter, where I am at 0. Kyle is at 0. John is at 0. And our number one crier for this series for the first time ever, Connor! I'm so excited to pass the crier trophy to you.
Thank you. Thank you. My one bonus cry for my boys.
Speech,
Amazing.
Well,
Thank you.
next week we'll be back with a full Quicksilver Q&A to dive into all our theories and answer all of your questions. Be sure to watch, because we might also talk about what book we're reading next, maybe. Then, joining us for a full episode will be Quicksilver audiobook narrators Stella Bloom and Anthony Palmini.
Yay!
Amazing. On top of all that, be sure to visit betweenpagesandfriends.com and join our Patreon so you can dive into all of our spoiler and non-spoiler chats on Discord, take part in our monthly book club, get access and discounts on all of our incredible merch, and see what the four of us are up to when it comes to books, games, and more. Until then, stay wordy, stay nerdy, don't stress, and stay blessed.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Guys, I wore my little butterfly ring
Oh,
today.
wow.
so
Cute. Oh, my God.
Your little
Cute.
OSHA ring.
My little ocean.
OSHA ring.
Should be a helmet.
I'm going to get brass knuckles that say OSHA on it.
We got a helmet.
I love it.
Bye.
Bye.
Go
Bye.